By the time Jake Wilson and Claire Evans got back to the school plaza, Jake was looking down at his phone. Michael, he asked Michael Thompson, the class graduation party tonight? Heard it might go all night. You coming? As he asked, he looked up and froze. He saw Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan holding hands. Olivia seemed a little shy about holding hands in front of others, but she didn't let go of Michael's hand. Michael, on the other hand, was much more relaxed than Olivia. He grinned. Looks like I'll have to hit up 2 parties tonight. He had originally been in honors class A, but later transferred to the art studio program, which had also invited him to their graduation party tonight. He planned to go to both and just cut loose for the night. Jake stared for a moment, then gave a big thumbs up. Damn impressive, he said, clearly awestruck. It wasn't clear if he was more impressed by Michael planning to hit 2 parties in one night or by him successfully landing Oakwood High's Queen Bee. At the high school graduation party, everyone let loose. Students who normally didn't drink much threw caution to the wind tonight. Throughout the dinner, people kept using liquid courage to confess their feelings to crushes, with predictably mixed results, some joyous, some heartbroken. Others eagerly chatted about their hopes for college life, discussing their dream schools and the majors they planned to pursue. None of this concerned Michael Thompson, however. He'd already made the rounds at both parties and was thoroughly drunk, insisting on performing a blood brother ritual with a potted pine tree in the hotel. Bro, buddy, he slurred, leaning on the plant. We hit off right away. Nuff said. It's all in the drinks. Cheers. Michael Thompson could hold his liquor well, but he wasn't a graceful drunk. He usually controlled himself and never got wasted, but tonight, at the graduation party, he'd let go completely. He'd powered through the art studio program's gathering and then rushed straight over to the honors class A party, ending up in his current state. He started demanding the waiter bring him something. Anything, so he could swear a blood oath with the tree. Jake Wilson, exasperated, tried to pull him away. Who let him drink this much? Michael, snap out of it. You can't become blood brothers with a plant. Jake, perfect timing. Michael Thompson grabbed Jake Wilson, trying to pull him down and kneel too. Come on, all 3 of us. From now on, I'm number 1, he's number 2, and you're number 3. Jake protested. Why the hell should I call a tree my second brother? Fine, then you're number 2. Suddenly, number 3 sounds pretty good. The classmates who were still sober nearly died laughing. During the meal, one of the girls teased Olivia Sullivan. Hey, Queen Bee, aren't you going to get your boyfriend under control? Olivia's face flushed bright red. She sulkily sipped her juice, resolving never to let Michael Thompson drink again. No wonder he never drank when he came over to her house. Once dinner wound down, a group got rowdy, wanted to head to a karaoke bar, and the teachers agreed to go too. Aside from a few shy girls, almost the entire class decided to go. Olivia, are you sure you're not coming? Claire Evans really wanted to go to karaoke and try to persuade Olivia Sullivan. Come with us, it's the last time. We won't see each other after this. Olivia Sullivan shook her head, looking towards the private room where Michael Thompson was sleeping soundly, clutching his second brother. I'm not going. Claire Evans understood she wanted to take care of the drunk Michael and offered to stay. Then I'll stay too. I can help you get Michael home, and then I'll meet up with them at the karaoke place. Before Olivia could reply, Michael Thompson suddenly muttered in his sleep, Get lost, stupid woman. He rolled over, smacking his lips and mumbling, I have a girlfriend. Olivia couldn't help but cover her mouth to stifle a giggle, while Claire Evans looked absolutely livid, shooting a hateful glare at Michael. She suspected the idiot wasn't even that drunk and had said that deliberately for her benefit. Olivia said, Claire, don't worry about us. You go have fun with Jake. I'll just wait for Michael to wake up. Claire Evans was still a bit worried, but seeing Olivia's insistence, she relented. Okay, well, call me if you need anything. Okay, have fun. Olivia waved as she watched Claire leave. Once it was just her and Michael Thompson left in the private room, she said, slightly annoyed, They're all gone. Get up already. Michael tried to keep up the drunken act, but Olivia pinched his nose shut. His face turned red from lack of air before he finally gave up, slapping her hand away irritably as he opened his eyes. All right, I'm up. He sat up, looking at Olivia curiously. How'd you know? I just know Olivia tilted her nose up smugly. Her mind had started racing the moment she heard Michael telling Claire Evans to get lost. Looks like I won't be able to hide my little schemes from you anymore. Michael chuckled wryly, rubbing his forehead and taking a moment to steady himself. He really had drunk too much earlier, but he had a high tolerance, so the drunkenness hit fast and faded fast. He'd already thrown up in a bathroom once and felt much clearer, though his head was still a bit fuzzy. Michael paused for a moment, then looked around the empty room and smiled. So, it's just the 2 of us now. Yeah. Olivia sat down beside him, leaned in, looked into his eyes, and said seriously, "You can't drink that much anymore." But Michael replied confidently, "There's still one more time in the future. I'll definitely be even drunker than tonight." Olivia started to frown slightly, but then a thought suddenly echoed in her mind, clear as day. "The drunkest I'll ever be in my life will probably be at my wedding." "Oh, okay. Then you get one more chance to get drunk." She pressed her lips together, unable to hide her joy. "Just one, understand? Make it count." Michael gave a mock serious salute. "Yes, ma'am." Olivia looked at him, her smile irrepressible. Their hands found each other again, seemingly by accident. "Just the two of us," Michael murmured, gently squeezing her hand, his eyes full of warm laughter as he repeated the phrase. Olivia blushed slightly. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking. But let's save it for later, when you're a little older." Olivia realized what he meant and smacked him playfully with her small fist, embarrassed and annoyed. Michael laughed heartily, then pulled her up by the hand. "Come on, I'll take you somewhere." "Where?" Olivia followed him, feeling completely clueless. Michael Thompson held her right hand, cradled his second brother, the potted pine tree, in his left arm, and announced enthusiastically, "Your place." The place Michael Thompson meant wasn't the Sullivan family home in Green Valley, but Olivia Sullivan's apartment near the school. When their taxi arrived after the drive from the hotel in Pine Ridge County, Olivia froze. I don't think I'm ready." The closer they got to her apartment, the more nervous Olivia became. Her words started to tumble out in a stutter. "It's too fast. No matter how you look at it, it's just too fast, even if we're already dating." As they went upstairs and reached her floor, Olivia's eyes reddened and brimmed with tears. She was quite conservative by nature, and although she knew this day would come eventually, she never imagined it would be so soon. Today was officially their first day as a couple. But Michael Thompson had already pulled the keys from his pocket and was about to unlock the door. Olivia Sullivan asked in surprise, "Why do you have keys to my place?" "Borrowed them from Claire Evans today," Michael Thompson explained casually, opening the door and pulling Olivia Sullivan inside by the hand. "That Claire Evans." Michael Thompson's inner thoughts were racing excitedly. "I wonder if my gorgeous girl will like it. I've been planning this for over half a year." Olivia Sullivan felt a mix of emotions. Michael Thompson started planning this with her over half a year ago. That perv. She cursed inwardly, but at the same time, she felt conflicted. Is this kind of thing normal for other couples? No. Michael Thompson must just be impatient. Things don't move this fast. They just graduated high school, and today is officially their first day together. But Olivia Sullivan also felt that she and Michael Thompson weren't like other couples. After all, she was definitely going to marry Michael Thompson someday, and they have lovely children. Maybe she should just agree. It was only a matter of time. Just as Olivia Sullivan was starting to waver, she suddenly remembered something. Olivia Sullivan stopped Michael Thompson, stood on her tiptoes, and whispered something in his ear. By the time she finished speaking, her face was bright red. Michael Thompson froze for a second. "What are you thinking? Are you in that much of a hurry?" Who's in a hurry?" Olivia Sullivan stammered shyly, stamping her foot in frustration. Michael Thompson stroked his chin, looking at her with amusement and clicking his tongue. Well, I wouldn't have guessed. Turns out Miss Olivia is quite the eager one. Huh? Can't judge a book by its cover." "I am not. Still, I'm pretty old-fashioned myself. Don't you go getting any ideas about me, just because I might have had a drink." Olivia Sullivan sputtered like an angry chipmunk, covered her ears, and ran into the room. Michael Thompson chuckled, speechless, and started to follow her into the room. But as soon as Olivia Sullivan got inside, she slammed the door shut with a bang, nearly catching Michael Thompson's nose. He stared at the closed door, rubbing his nose sheepishly. Oops, she's really mad now. Inside, the lights were off. Streetlights cast a faint, hazy glow through the living room window. Olivia Sullivan had entered the foyer, intending to lock Michael Thompson out, to make him reflect on his behavior. This time she was furious, the kind of angry that couldn't be easily soothed. At least, that's what she told herself. But Michael Thompson had Claire Evans's keys. He could let himself in. Olivia Sullivan pretended to forget this, hoping Michael Thompson would take the hint and be proactive. Pouting, she changed her shoes in the foyer, walked down the short hall to the living room, fumbled for the switch on the wall, and flicked on the light with a click. Turning on the light, she was startled by something in the living room. Right in the middle of the room, in the space between the TV and the coffee table, stood something almost as tall as she was, completely covered by a cloth. What was this? Something new Claire Evans bought? Olivia Sullivan was curious. She lifted the cloth to peek underneath. When she lifted a corner of the cloth, revealing a part of what was beneath in the living room light, her eyes widened involuntarily. This is, Olivia Sullivan murmured in astonishment, eagerly pulling off the entire cloth. As the cloth slid away, the object was revealed completely. A rough, brownish stone exterior encased a smooth texture like jade. Carved into that jade-like core was a beautiful girl with shoulder-length hair tied in a small ponytail. Her gaze lowered gently toward the swaddled baby in her arms. The artwork radiated empathy, allowing onlookers to feel the tenderness, longing, and affection embedded within it, instantly drawing them in and tugging at their heartstrings. Olivia Sullivan gasped, covering her mouth as her eyes grew moist. No one could feel that connection more deeply than she did, because the carved girl was unmistakably her. Although the girl in the statue looked more mature, like an older version of herself, the eyes, the expression, the face, it was all undeniably her. This was an artist's love letter composed for his beloved. "Hey buddy, do you think my gorgeous girl will like it?" Outside Olivia Sullivan's place, Michael Thompson was squatting by the door, talking to his newly adopted little brother. But his little brother couldn't answer him, of course. It was just a potted plant. Couldn't expect too much from a tree. Just then, the closed door suddenly swung open. Michael Thompson quickly stood up, only to see Olivia Sullivan standing in the doorway, her eyes red. Her voice was thick as she said, "Why didn't you come in? Don't you have the key?" Michael Thompson gave an awkward smile as Olivia Sullivan threw her arms around him, burying her face in his chest. She sniffled and asked, "That thing in the living room, is it for me?" "Yeah. Do you like it?" "No, I don't look that old." She spoke petulantly, but the way she clung tightly to Michael Thompson betrayed her words. Michael Thompson looked past her into the room, saw the stone sculpture in the living room, and a look of reminiscence filled his eyes. After a moment, he looked down at Olivia Sullivan in his arms and couldn't help but gently stroke her head. "Because that's the future, I promise you. Someday we'll get married, have our own daughter, our own life. You'll always look this happy, and you'll never regret being with me." He spoke of the future, making a promise to Olivia Sullivan and a vow to himself. In his past life, although he and Olivia Sullivan had loved each other deeply, he had ultimately neglected his family somewhat. Michael Thompson didn't know if the Olivia Sullivan from his past life had ever, even for a moment, regretted marrying him. Being together wasn't always about blissfully sticking close. Over nearly 20 years of marriage, there were bound to be rough patches and minor frictions. But Michael Thompson had never considered leaving Olivia Sullivan, and she had never voiced any dissatisfaction. The past Olivia Sullivan had been too reserved, always keeping things bottled up inside, never speaking out. So, often, Michael Thompson had only realized belatedly that he'd been neglectful of his wife's feelings, and he always felt guilty about it. Olivia Sullivan leaned against Michael Thompson's chest, listening to his heartbeat. She asked him, "Will you always be by my side?" Michael Thompson chuckled. "Well, I have to go to work, to support you." Olivia Sullivan wheedled, "Don't go to work. I'll definitely be rich someday. I'll support you. Wouldn't that make me a kept man? It's fine if you're living off me." "Oh yeah? Then it's a deal." "Uh-huh. I'll work hard to support you and the baby." Michael Thompson watched her earnestly clenching her small fists, chuckled, and shook his head. The next morning, when Michael Thompson woke up, he found himself in an unfamiliar room. A pleasant, somewhat familiar scent hung in the air. The wallpaper was a very girly pink, and the whole room was neat and clean with brown wooden floors. There was a bookshelf against the wall, next to a large rectangular desk with a computer on it. Several stuffed animals were arranged on the soft bed. Michael Thompson knew one thing for sure. This wasn't his room. So where was he? His hangover hit him, his head pounding. Michael Thompson struggled to sit up, and then noticed something extra in his arms. It wasn't one of those situations where he threw off the covers to find a gorgeous girl lying on his chest. Instead, what he'd apparently cuddled all night was a small pine bonsai. The soil from the pot had spilled onto the bed, and Michael Thompson was covered in dirt. TSK. Damn. Michael Thompson smacked his forehead, annoyed. He was starting to remember last night. He hadn't blacked out completely. He recalled most of it. He performed a blood brother ritual. With a tree, in front of all his high school classmates. He didn't even remember how he'd managed to sneak the decorative bonsai out of the hotel. Drinking really messes things up. Michael Thompson sighed. Just then, Olivia Sullivan came into the room carrying a bowl of soup. Hearing Michael Thompson muttering, she said irritably, "Now you realize it messes things up?" She placed the soup on the nightstand. "I asked Margaret Thompson to make you some clam soup. Have some. It'll help with the hangover." Michael Thompson took the soup blew on it gently, and sipped from the edge of the bowl. Is this your room? Yeah. Did we sleep together yesterday? Olivia Sullivan blushed. In your dreams. I slept with Claire Evans. She drank too much at the karaoke bar, too, yesterday. After taking care of you, I want to take care of her. I'm exhausted. Thanks for your hard work. But honestly, Claire Evans, it's not safe for a girl to get that drunk at a place like a karaoke bar. Michael Thompson grumbled about Claire Evans, earning a glare from Olivia Sullivan. She retorted, You're lecturing Claire Evans? You were the most ridiculous one yesterday. Well, I'm a guy. What's the worst that could happen to me? Michael Thompson waved dismissively, then warned Olivia Sullivan, You better not be like Claire Evans. If I'm not around, you're not allowed to drink, understand? I don't drink. Alcohol doesn't even taste good. Olivia Sullivan defended Claire Evans again. But Claire Evans doesn't usually drink either. Yesterday was different. All our classmates and teachers were there. Plus, Jake Wilson brought her home, so it was fine. While they chatted, Michael Thompson pulled out his phone. He had 2 phones. One he'd bought himself, and another his family bought him when he went to Boston for school. He hadn't really looked at his phone yesterday. This morning, he saw a lot of unread messages and several missed calls from home, though they'd stopped calling after a few tries. Michael Thompson had told his family beforehand that he was going to a graduation party yesterday and might stay out late, so they let him be. After all, the SATs were over, and high school graduation only happens once. Besides the calls, Samuel Shaw and Elizabeth Shaw had also sent him quite a few messages, likely timed for when his SATs finished, asking how he did. Michael Thompson replied to Mr. and Mrs. Howard Banks' messages, then said to Olivia Sullivan, I should head back. If I don't go soon, Margaret Thompson might think I drank myself to death and call the police. Olivia Sullivan quickly stood up. Have breakfast before you go. I asked Mrs. Thompson to make you something. No need, I'll just grab some steam buns on the way. Then take it to go. Do you want me to have a driver take you? Don't trouble yourself, it's not far. I can take the bus or grab a cab. Michael Thompson waved his hand and got out of bed. Olivia Sullivan insisted on getting a takeaway container and packing the breakfast the housekeeper had prepared for Michael Thompson to eat on the road. Holding the packed breakfast, Michael Thompson was changing his shoes in the entryway, ready to leave, when he asked Olivia Sullivan, By the way, I'm planning to hang out with Fatty, Emily Thompson, and a few others tonight. Do you and Claire Evans want to come? Today? I probably can't make it today. I have to go back home, Olivia Sullivan said, a little disappointed. As for Claire Evans, I doubt she'll wake up until much later. I'll ask her when she does. All right, we'll figure out then. Michael Thompson didn't push it. It made sense for Olivia Sullivan to go home right after the SATs. Later, when Michael Thompson took a cab back from Pine Ridge County to Pine Creek Town and reached his front gate, he was about to get his keys out when he looked up and saw the old man from the church next door sitting on a small stool, weaving bamboo baskets. The sound of children playing drifted from the churchyard. It was the weekend, and the church was lively. The choir was singing Hallelujah. Quite a few people were religious in the small southern county of Pine Ridge. Michael Thompson used to love going to the church on weekends as a kid because he could score some hard candy and deviled eggs. The old man from the church next door saw Michael Thompson too and grinned, revealing the few teeth he had left. Back? Your mom said you went for the SATs. Yeah, just got back from the SATs. Michael Thompson decided not to rush inside and squatted down beside the old man, chatting cheerfully. Mister, Sunday, it's so sunny out here. Why aren't you inside? You'll get sunburned. Too many kids inside. Can't get any work done. The old man's speech was muffled, and his thick dialect made him even harder to understand. How'd you do? How'd I do? Well, Margaret Thompson is definitely having the neighbors over for dinner in 2 days anyway. You should come, Michael Thompson said with a grin. The old man chuckled. You rascal. Always been full of hot air since you were a kid. Michael Thompson. Can we even have this conversation? Big bro. Just then, Michael Thompson heard a familiar voice. He looked up to see his little cousin running excitedly towards him from inside the church. She ran a few steps, looked back, then ran back to grab a little boy's hand and pulled him along. The little boy was, naturally, her Lucas Mitchell. The cool little kid looked just as cool today, showing none of the pitiful state he'd been in after his little cousin beat him up until he admitted he was her boyfriend. Big bro, give me money. His little cousin held out her hand as soon as she reached Michael Thompson. Michael Thompson said generously, What do you want? Big bro will buy it for you. You can't buy it, big bro. Lucas Mitchell has to buy it, his little cousin declared righteously. Lucas Mitchell says you need a ring to get married, but rings are really expensive. Big bro, can you chip in? Michael Thompson didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Still, figuring it was just the innocence of a child's words, he crouched down, pinched his little cousin Emma Thompson's chubby cheek, and teased, "Around here, it's the mother-in-law who buys the ring for the daughter-in-law." Emma Thompson tilted her little face up, asking doubtfully, "Really?" Michael Thompson nodded. "Of course. Okay, I get it." Emma Thompson pumped her little fists, full of determination. Then she grabbed Lucas Mitchell's hand, pulled him towards the door, and didn't forget to wave her chubby little hand at Michael Thompson. "Bye-bye, big cousin." Michael Thompson waved back. "Remember to come back for Thanksgiving dinner." "Okay." By the time Michael Thompson got home from church, he saw Margaret Thompson of ING vegetable stew in the yard as soon as he entered. A huge pot of it, filled with pre-marinated beef jerky and taro, simmering over a wood fire in a slow cooker. Just before it was ready, she'd chop in a few pounds of homegrown mustard greens. The fragrant aroma alone promised a delicious meal. This massive pot was enough for the whole Thompson family, and often neighbors who caught the scent would wander over, grab a bowl, and help themselves, chatting idly with the Thompsons. There were advantages to small-town life. People were friendlier, and neighbors of several decades were practically aunts and uncles. The moment Margaret Thompson saw Michael Thompson walk in, she asked, "Just getting back now? Where'd you sleep last night?" "Drank too much, crashed at a classmate's place," Michael Thompson said, grabbing a bowl himself and ladling out some vegetable stew. He found a shady spot, squatted down, and started eating. Margaret Thompson sidled up to him, asking nervously, "How did the test go?" "Mom, didn't I call you as soon as I left the testing center yesterday? It's definitely no problem." Michael Thompson sounded completely confident, almost nonchalant about it. "I still need to ask face-to-face to feel reassured." "You brat, you only ever share the good news," Margaret Thompson grumbled. "Did you ask Emily Thompson? She seemed in a bad mood when she came back yesterday." Michael Thompson shook his head. "Didn't ask." Margaret Thompson looked worried. "Oh dear, she must have bombed it. Aunt Daisy was asking me on the sly yesterday if she should repeat the year if she didn't do well. How would I know? I barely went to school myself." "Michael, what do you think? The scores aren't even out yet. What's the point of worrying?" Michael Thompson reassured her. "Think positive. Maybe Emily Thompson wasn't upset about the test. Maybe she just broke up with her boyfriend." Margaret Thompson called him a little rascal and went back to tending her slow cooker. Truthfully, though, Michael Thompson wasn't too worried about Emily Thompson. If he remembered correctly from his past life, Emily Thompson's SAT score was actually quite decent relative to her usual academic performance. It was just that this year's state SAT version was much harder than previous years, leaving most students feeling demoralized and convinced they'd failed right after the exam. But when the admission cutoff scores were finally released, they'd be surprised to find they'd done pretty well. Michael Thompson finished the hot stew, and his stomach, uncomfortable from last night's drinking, immediately felt warm and much better. Margaret Thompson probably knew he'd had a lot to drink last night and made the vegetable stew specifically to settle his stomach. She really did care about her son. Michael Thompson took his bowl inside. When he came back out, he was holding a hand fan and walked over to stand behind Margaret Thompson, fanning her attentively. "Mom, can I talk to you about something?" Margaret Thompson was rather heavy-set, and it was a hot day. Manning the slow cooker in the yard at noon had already left her drenched in sweat. She wiped her brow and looked suspiciously at her son. "This is what they call buttering someone up for no good reason. What are you after?" Michael Thompson grinned sheepishly. "Come on, Mom, don't say that. It's just a small thing." Margaret Thompson chuckled, completely unmoved, and asked bluntly, "How much money do you want?" She assumed Michael Thompson, finally done with the SAT, wanted to go out and have fun, but was short on cash and needed to request some fun from her. Although Margaret Thompson was usually frugal and kept a tight grip on the family finances, she wasn't totally unreasonable. She decided that if Michael Thompson asked for less than $5,000, she'd approve it. But Michael Thompson wasn't actually asking for money. He didn't lack funds. While studying in Boston, his family gave him $2,000 a month for living expenses, but since he ate and lived at Samuel Shaw's place, he barely spent anything. Plus, he'd won prize money from previous competitions, none of which Howard Banks had touched. It was all given to Michael Thompson to manage himself. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was enough for his needs. Michael Thompson waved his hand. "Money? Why make it awkward between us, Mom?" Margaret Thompson's gaze grew even warier. Hearing him say that, she figured $5,000 wouldn't cut it. She said, "You don't want to buy a car, do you? Let me tell you, forget it. You could drive Robert Thompson's old one. We have a bit more money now, but that doesn't mean you can waste it. We'll talk about a new car after you graduate college." "Can I get a word in?" "Go ahead." Michael Thompson continued fanning her. "It's nothing major, really. I might bring someone home in a couple of days for you and Dad to meet. Margaret Thompson instantly relaxed, sitting back down on her small stool and feeding firewood into the slow cooker's firebox. So just bring them over, what's the big deal? I'll make a nice spread. A friend of yours? Michael Thompson handed her some dry twigs and said casually, my girlfriend. Margaret Thompson, who had been reaching for the twigs, froze. Her hand stopped midair, and she whipped her head around, eyes wide, staring at him. What? The shout was deafening. Michael Thompson covered his ears, looking innocent. Mom, why are you so surprised? Margaret Thompson sputtered. Why am I so surprised? When did you get a girlfriend? Just yesterday. Yesterday? You got a girlfriend yesterday, and you're already planning to bring her home today. Is she not welcome? In that case. Wait. Margaret Thompson forgot all about the firewood. She fished her phone out of her apron pocket and started dialing. Hello, Uncle Ben Thompson. Get back here right now. Fishing? What fishing? Just toss the rod in the river and get home. Something huge has happened. Your son is bringing home a daughter-in-law. A short while later, in the Thompson family living room, Michael Thompson sat like a prisoner under interrogation on a small stool behind the coffee table, while Robert Thompson and Margaret Thompson sat opposite him on the sofa. The couple glared fiercely at their son. Margaret Thompson slammed a feather duster on the coffee table, her eyebrows practically standing on end. All right, spill it. Confession brings leniency. Robert Thompson cleared his throat, signaling his wife not to overreact. The boys graduated. It's perfectly normal to have a girlfriend. Our son is so outstanding, it's only natural for girls to have their eye on him. Michael Thompson nodded in agreement. Exactly. I take after Dad in that respect. Father and son exchanged a glance, recognizing the mutual admiration in each other's eyes. Margaret Thompson was still a little torn. Deep down, she still saw Michael Thompson as just a kid attending Oakwood High School. Dating at Oakwood High? Wasn't that too young? What infuriated her most was that, fine, the little brat was dating young, but he even informed them about a parent-teacher conference himself. And he was planning on bringing someone home already? Wasn't he just asking for trouble? Margaret felt she'd be failing her duty as a mother if she didn't give Michael a good talking to. But after Robert Thompson spoke, it belatedly dawned on her that Michael had already graduated from Oakwood High and was officially an adult. He was old enough to be responsible for his own actions. Robert Thompson, by contrast, was much more open-minded and even asked Michael curiously, So, whose family is the girl from? How did you two meet? Michael answered honestly, Dad, she was my classmate at Oakwood High. From Boston? No, Oakwood High, right here in Green Valley. She was in honors class A with me. Oh, Robert Thompson nodded, paused for a moment, then asked again, curious, so when are you planning to bring her home? Should your mom and I give her a gift the first time she visits? Margaret protested. I haven't agreed to anything yet. Michael sidled up to her. Mom, should I go break up with her right now? Margaret was speechless. He continued with a perfectly straight face. I'll just tell her my mom doesn't approve of us. That my mom is exactly like those evil mothers-in-law from the TV dramas, and no girl who gets involved with me will ever have a happy ending. Although, I think you should act more like those wealthy wives in the dramas. Find my girlfriend, pull out a big stack of cash, and say coldly, take this $1 million and leave my son. Wouldn't that have more impact? Margaret knew her son was just teasing her, never serious with his words. She couldn't help but swat him on the head, half laughing, half annoyed. When you were born, I shouldn't have given you that mouth. Michael rubbed his head and grinned. Margaret said huffily, I bet some girl confessed to you, and you just went along with it. Now you're eager to bring her home, but maybe the novelty will wear off in a little while. Mom, I confessed to her, Michael said, shaking his head. And it wasn't on a whim. I've liked her for a long time. Margaret asked, how long? A really long time. Long enough that I feel like she's the one for me, Michael said, his tone completely serious. If she were just a girlfriend, I wouldn't be bringing her home. Margaret had been about to say something along the lines of, what do kids know about love? He felt strongly now, sure, but he'd graduated high school. Once he went off to college, they might be long distance. Who could predict what would happen years down the line? A flurry of thoughts went through her mind, but when she saw the look on Michael's face, the words caught in her throat. Her son, usually so flippant, talking back without respect, acting like nothing mattered. But this time, his expression was exceptionally earnest. When he spoke of the girl, his eyes seemed to smile, and his whole demeanor changed. Margaret could only swallow the words she'd been about to say. You're grown up now, she said resignedly. I can't control you anymore. Michael immediately broke into a smile, but she couldn't resist adding a dose of cold water. But if you start bringing home a different girl every few days, you'll face the consequences. Robert Thompson stepped in to smooth things over. All right. Our son's a good kid. Don't worry about that. You should go check on the vegetable stew in the yard. I think I smell something burning. Michael looked displeased. Hey, why the insult? Oh no, shoot. Margaret suddenly remembered the vegetable stew simmering outside and quickly got up to head into the yard. Just before leaving the room, she turned back to Michael. Right, when you bring the girl over, make sure to tell us in advance, okay? Don't just show up with her unannounced. Michael laughed and nodded. Got it, Mom. Michael wanting to bring Olivia Sullivan home wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. In his past life, Robert Thompson had passed away early, and Olivia and Margaret Thompson had only met a handful of times, usually just sharing a turkey dinner. Not having properly introduced Olivia to his parents had always been a significant regret for him. So, in this life, he was determined to make up for it. He had brought Olivia home before for this reason, but back then, they weren't dating. She hadn't come to the Thompson family as his girlfriend. This time, Michael wanted to introduce Olivia to his family as his girlfriend. The thought alone was amusing. He'd convinced his parents. Now all that was left was Ms. Olivia herself. Michael had already tested the waters. Although Olivia was nervous about meeting his parents as his girlfriend, she wasn't entirely resistant. Maybe after Olivia got back home in a few days, he could talk to her about meeting his parents? Michael sat in the yard, mentally planning how to persuade Olivia. Just then his phone rang. Michael pulled out his phone and glanced at the screen. It was Emily Thompson calling him. Hello. Michael Thompson. You rotten kid, look what you've done. Emily Thompson's furious voice came through the phone. Michael held the phone slightly away from his ear until the shouting subsided, then brought it back. What's wrong? Why are you so mad? What did you say to Emma Thompson? Get over to the Mitchell family's place right now. I seriously can't move this little troublemaker by myself. He could tell Emily was genuinely furious. Emily's reminder made him recall that particular incident. Had his little cousin really gone over to the Mitchells, pestering Lucas Mitchell's mom to buy her a gold ring? Impressive. Knowing how to secure a good catch for life at such a young age, very promising. But Emily on the other end sounded like she was about to explode, and he could faintly hear his little cousin crying and fussing in the background. Michael Thompson, get over here right now, you hear me? This is your mess. All right, what's the big deal? You little SH. Michael immediately hung up the phone with a smirk. As long as I hang up fast enough, no one can curse me out. Still, he got up from his comfortable little bamboo chair, preparing to head over to the Mitchell's place to retrieve his little cousin. The Mitchell family lived across from Sculpture Town. The cool kid's father was also a sculptor, with a shop right next to Robert Thompson's. The two families had always been on good terms. However, the Mitchells didn't have children the same age as Michael and Emily, so Michael rarely visited. He had to follow the address Emily sent him, searching for quite a while before finding the Mitchell's home. They lived in an apartment building in the complex on the 5th floor. Michael had just reached the 3rd floor landing when he heard his little cousin's wails from upstairs. No, I want to go back. Aunt Daisy, I can eat less in the future. Please don't break us up, okay? When Michael Thompson got to the Mitchell's front door, he found it open. His little cousin, Emma Thompson, was clinging to the door frame with one hand, while Emily Thompson tried to pull her away with the other. Emma was crying her eyes out, her face a mess. Mrs. Mitchell stood just inside the doorway, unsure whether to laugh or cry at the spectacle. Spotting Michael Thompson, Emma looked like she'd seen her savior. Michael, she wailed, tattling. Emily's being mean to me. Emily Thompson saw Michael too and huffed. Finally, get over here and help me. I can't drag this little chubster out by myself. You're the chubby one. Talking back now, are we? Emily, completely exasperated, gave her little cousin's pink, chubby cheek a pinch, making Emma wail even louder. Emma let go of the door frame and scrambled behind Michael Thompson, still crying. Michael shielded her. All right, take it easy on her, Emily. She's just a kid, he said, then turned to Mrs. Mitchell. Sorry about this, Mrs. Mitchell. Didn't mean to cause a scene. Mrs. Mitchell chuckled teasingly. Oh, she's a cute little thing, isn't she? Got a lucky look about her. Maybe I should just keep her as a daughter-in-law. Michael laughed. You'd have to talk to Robert Thompson about that. It's not my call. Of course, that was just the usual neighborly banter, nothing serious. If it were, Michael Thompson would have ended up with 7 or 8 fiancés by now from all the childhood teasing. Mrs. Mitchell was very welcoming. Well, since you're already here, Michael, Emily, why don't you just stay for turkey dinner? Just call home and let them know. Oh, that's really nice of you, Mrs. Mitchell, but maybe another time? We actually have plans with friends, Michael said politely. He peeked inside the Mitchell's house. Speaking of which, Mrs. Mitchell, where's your son? Maybe you could walk him out? Otherwise, I think she might just decide to move in today. Hold on, I'll get him. He always hides in his room the second he gets home. Mrs. Mitchell started to head inside, but before she could call out, Lucas Mitchell appeared. The cool little guy walked out, his hands clenched into tight fists. Michael asked Emily to take Emma for a second, then pulled Lucas Mitchell aside. Hey, buddy, do your big bro a favor? Give this to Emma in a minute, okay? Michael rummaged in his pocket for a moment and pulled out 2 ring pops. He bought them on the way over, stopping by the little store near the elementary school. They were just those cheap plastic rings with a hard candy gem on top. 2 for a quarter. They were popular little trinkets with kids, and based on Michael's years of experience placating his little cousin, 1 ring pop was usually enough. Unlike her older sister, the little girl was pretty easy to appease. But Lucas Mitchell looked at the ring pops, shook his head, and didn't take them. Those are fake. They aren't real rings. Michael said, I know they're fake, but they'll cheer Emma up. If you give it to her, she'll be happy to get it, even knowing it's not real. Lucas Mitchell pursed his lips. It's not nice to trick people. Michael was momentarily speechless. Were kids these days really so hard to fool? He thought for a second. Okay, how about this? Just think of it as doing me a favor. Emma's always hanging around you. That must be annoying, right? I'll talk to her later. Get her to back off a little. Lucas's expression suddenly turned complicated. He shifted uncomfortably. No, if I don't play with her, Claire Evans and the other girls will pick on her. Claire Evans? Who's that? Whose kid is she? Michael was taken aback. Someone was picking on his cousin? Lucas said seriously, she's the class president. Emma keeps sneaking other kids' fruit during lunch break. So Claire gets mad and gives Emma a hard time. Michael, sneaking other kids' fruit. What could he even say? That's my cousin, all right. Lucas continued. But if I play with her, Claire doesn't dare bother her. Why not? I don't know. But Claire always avoids me on the playground. When she talks to me, she blushes and stutters. Lucas felt his own bicep, nodding thoughtfully. Maybe because I'm stronger? They don't dare mess with me. Michael, are kindergartners nowadays more experienced in romance than me? Damn it, you've been a cute kid too. Why didn't any little girls blush and stutter when they saw him back in kindergarten? Michael felt a surge of injustice. Totally unfair. Lucas sighed. Even so, could you ask Emma not to just run up and hug me all of a sudden? She's really strong. Yeah, sorry about that. And tell her not to kiss me on the playground anymore. It's kind of embarrassing. Michael patted his head, saying sagely, Listen, kid, let me give you some big brother advice. You better not mess up growing up. Otherwise, someday you'll look back on all this stuff you hate right now, and you'll be shocked to realize it was the peak of your life. Lucas just stared at him blankly, the profound wisdom clearly lost on someone his age. Michael pressed the ring pops into his hand. All right, I'll talk to Emma about the stuff you mentioned. Tell her to cut it out. Now, you gotta help me out here, or I'll never get this little monster home. Lucas looked at the ring pops in his hand, hesitated for a second, then nodded and walked over to Emma Thompson. The 2 kids huddled together, whispering. Whatever Lucas said, Emma suddenly shrieked with delight and grabbed his face with both hands. Lucas looked mortified and tried to pull away. But just as he'd said, his little cousin was surprisingly strong. In the end, he got a big, loud smooch right on the cheek. By the time Lucas had silently wiped the spit off his cheek and hidden behind his mom, Emma had stopped fussing completely, her cheerful energy restored. Michael, I'm hungry. Let's go home for turkey dinner. Great, Michael thought. Back to her usual, energetic, ready to eat everything self. Michael couldn't help but smile. He took his little cousin's hand, said goodbye to Mrs. Mitchell and Lucas, and left with Emily and Emma in tow. On the way home, Emma didn't want Michael holding her hand anymore. She walked hunched over, carefully clutching something precious in both hands. Seeing her sister walking like she was smuggling contraband, Emily sidled up to Michael and asked grumpily, Okay, what brilliant idea did you come up with this time? Michael protested indignantly. Hey, what do you mean brilliant idea? I spent forever trying to drag that stubborn little mule home, and nothing worked. What did you say to get her to come back so quietly? Emily demanded. I saw the Mitchell kid give Emma something just now. Was that from you? Ring pops. 2 for a quarter. Want one? We can swing by the elementary school on the way back. I'll get you one too. Michael grinned and recounted what had happened. After hearing this, Emily Thompson complimented sarcastically. You're really good at phoning it in. You could have at least carved a little ring out of scrap from the Thompson workshop, right? Didn't Dad teach you how to do that? Wouldn't that be a waste of time? Besides, the stone could easily break, and if it did, she'd probably cry again for a while. Forget it, you lazy bum. Emily Thompson assumed the treasure her sister was cherishing so carefully was just a cheap candy ring, so she didn't think much more of it. She just wondered if, when Emma Thompson grew up and understood things better, she'd be angry knowing her favorite Michael Thompson had fobbed her off like this when she was little. Emily Thompson and Michael Thompson didn't discuss their younger cousin further, treating it as a childish spat. They started talking about where to get dinner that evening, heading towards the Thompson family home as they chatted, younger cousin in tow. Meanwhile, at the Mitchell family home, after Michael and his sister had left, Mrs. Mitchell and Lucas Mitchell went inside and closed the door. In the living room, Mrs. Mitchell was still on the phone with her husband, laughing as she recounted the amusing incident. You know, Robert Thompson's youngest daughter really is adorable. He sure knows how to have kids. Both his daughters are incredibly beautiful. Oh, come on. How can you take what kids say seriously? Of course, I know that. Right? Jake Wilson's son was here today, too. Yes, that Michael Thompson. Wow. The Thompson family is really something else now. It's like a windfall landed on them, and on top of that, a true prodigy showed up in their family. There was undeniable envy in Mrs. Mitchell's tone as she spoke to her husband. She was using local Green Valley slang, saying a prodigy showed up in someone's family meant that family had produced someone successful and promising. Michael Thompson's mother, Margaret Thompson, was great in every way except for one annoying habit. She loved to brag. When Michael used to get good grades, she loved showing off. Later, when Michael suddenly wanted to study art, she initially kept it quiet, afraid to tell anyone. But now that Michael was winning award after award, she felt it was fine again. Nowadays, she loved wandering over to Sculpture Town whenever she had free time, telling everyone she met. Mrs. Mitchell and Margaret Thompson were on good terms. At first, she thought Margaret Thompson, while nice, was just bragging about her son. But just a couple of days later, the Green Valley Evening News reported that Michael Thompson had won the New Artist Award at the Chi-Bi-Shur Awards. Although Sculpture Town had town in its name, it was only about the size of a large city neighborhood with around 100 businesses. News traveled fast, and soon everyone knew the Thompson boy was in the newspaper. People started saying the Thompsons were really going places, that they were going to produce someone truly great. Without Michael Thompson even knowing it, he had already become a minor celebrity in Pine Creek Town. Mrs. Mitchell vividly recounted the recent events to her husband for quite a while before finally hanging up, still wanting to talk more. She turned her head and saw her son, Lucas Mitchell, standing beside her, looking at her somewhat anxiously. Mrs. Mitchell thought her son was worried that what happened earlier had made her angry. She smiled and said, "Lucas, Mommy's not angry. You can play with little Emma Thompson in the future, but you can't stay out too late, understand? Okay, good boy. Do you want barbecue ribs with vegetables for dinner tonight? Okay." Mrs. Mitchell got up to go to the kitchen. Only then did she notice her son was clutching something in each hand. Curious, she asked, "What are you holding?" Lucas Mitchell hesitated, then opened his hands. In his small palms were 2 candy rings. The older boy from earlier gave them to me. Mrs. Mitchell didn't think much of it, just thought Michael Thompson was good at pleasing kids. She reminded her son, "You can't eat them now. We're having turkey dinner soon. I don't like candy." "Good boy. Then share them with your friends at school tomorrow." Mrs. Mitchell bent down and gently pinched her son's cheek, then went into the kitchen with a smile. Lucas Mitchell held the ring pops, conflicted for a moment. Who should he give the candy to tomorrow? He couldn't give candy to Emma Thompson. She had cavities and a sweet tooth. It would make her teeth hurt. He'd give them to Claire Evans. Both of them. Maybe she'd stop bullying Emma Thompson then. A certain popular kid made a decision he would regret for the rest of his life. That evening, Michael Thompson, Emily Thompson, and Jake Wilson, 3 childhood friends, went out for dinner together. They weren't picky and found a stall at one of the open-air food markets along the Green River in Pine Creek Town. Back in 2011, these kinds of open-air food stalls were very common. Every summer in Pine Creek Town, they stretched all along the Green River from near Michael Thompson's house all the way to the stony beach outside Sculpture Town. On hot summer nights, enjoying the cool river breeze, looking at the night view of the river, eating stir-fry and barbecue, and drinking ice-cold beer was quite enjoyable. But this lively scene wouldn't last for many more years. Later, due to urban development, these open-air stalls would no longer be allowed. Once they found a suitable spot, Michael Thompson looked at the menu to order, while Jake Wilson ordered a beer first, popped the cap off with his teeth, and took a swig straight from the bottle. "Wow," he said with a smile. "I haven't been back in a while, but it doesn't look like much has changed." Jake Wilson, "Use the opener." "That's disgusting, getting your spit all over it," Emily Thompson said with some disgust, then used an opener to open a beer for herself, pouring it into her glass. But how much can this little town change? It'll probably be the same in a few more years. Michael Thompson finished ordering and handed the menu back to the owner. Hearing Emily's comment, he shook his head. Not necessarily. If the stone carving business ever goes bust, this town will become like a ghost town. Don't jinx it. Emily Thompson shot him an annoyed glance. Have you forgotten what our families do for a living? How can you say something like that? Michael Thompson smiled without replying, though privately he thought differently. Right now, the stone carving industry really was booming. An apprentice who had just finished a 6-year term could earn tens of thousands a month working as an assistant in someone else's shop. This small southern town had half its population coming from outside provinces like Southern California, the Northeast, or Yinchuan in the Northwest, all making a living here. But in just a few years, merely being grazed by a seemingly unrelated policy would be fatal to this industry. Right now, many people in Pine Creek Town had borrowed large sums of money to stock up massively, planning to sell slowly. With the market doing well now, it wasn't a problem. But in a couple of years, because of a certain policy, valuable stone artwork would become hard to sell for a period. For many, once their cash flow broke, the high interest rates alone would be enough to suffocate them. Some people couldn't handle it and started selling off stock at low prices to plug the holes. As a result, these price drops completely disrupted the previously stable market. Some who had been waiting on the sidelines saw the value of their stock decrease and panicked, selling off their inventory. The outcome was predictable. In his previous life, the Thompson family had fallen into this trap, and things ended up pretty badly. Uncle Ben Thompson, who was doing the best now, ended up tens of millions in debt. His other uncle was also heavily in debt. Michael Thompson's immediate family was okay. They didn't have debts and weren't significantly affected. But the valuable inventory left by Robert Thompson became difficult to sell. Eventually, after Michael Thompson made his own fortune, he kept his father's things as mementos, never thinking of selling them. At that time in Pine Creek Town, the outsiders had all left to find work elsewhere, and the once bustling small town became like a ghost town. But in this life, Michael Thompson naturally wouldn't let that happen. At the very least, he had to ensure his own family would be all right. If Michael Thompson were to tell Emily Thompson and Jake Wilson these things now, they definitely wouldn't believe him. Not that Michael had any intention of saying anything. For now, he just focused on eating and drinking with them, smiling as they chatted about their plans for the future. I wonder when the SAT scores will come out, Emily Thompson sighed, looking dejected. I definitely bombed it this time. I don't even know if I'll get into a second-tier college. The three of them had just graduated high school and taken the SATs only the day before yesterday. So naturally, the conversation revolved around topics close to their hearts. Emily Thompson wasn't someone with grand ambitions. She wasn't picky about colleges, just hoping for a decent one. Getting a bachelor's degree and eventually returning to a small place like Pine Ridge County for a civil service job seemed like a decent plan. However, she was inherently restless, a fact she hadn't even recognized in herself yet. When she heard the Thompsons suggest a civil service career was a good path, she agreed. But that kind of job wasn't suited for her. Michael knew from his past life that Emily had struggled for 2 years after college to pass the exam, only to quit lightning fast after just 3 months. In his past life, Michael Thompson had also aimed for a local state university, Jiang Provincial University, but hadn't gotten in due to his SAT performance. This time around, however, his admission to the Rhode Island School of Design was practically guaranteed, so unlike other recent graduates, he wasn't anxiously awaiting his scores. Jake Wilson tried to console her. Don't worry about it. I looked it up online, and everyone's saying our year had the hardest test in a decade. The questions were brutal. You might feel like you bombed it now, but maybe your scores will turn out great when they're released. I hope so. Emily Thompson still couldn't cheer up. She turned to Jake. What about you, Jake? Have you decided where you want to go? I was originally hoping to go to college in Boston with Michael, aiming for Capital Teachers College, he said with a wry smile. But seeing how tough the test was this year, that's probably not happening. Hearing this, Emily Thompson's eyes suddenly lit up, and she changed her tune. You guys are both going to Boston? Then I'm not staying in Jiang Province either. I want to go to college in Boston too. Jake Wilson was instantly pleased. That's great. If you come to Boston too, Emily, the three of us can look out for each other there. Michael Thompson grinned. Sound good. Jake, if you actually get into Capital Teachers College, our schools will practically be neighbors. He then teased Emily. Just don't end up at some school out in the boondocks, Emily. Hey, what's that supposed to mean? Emily protested indignantly. They didn't head back until late that night. They hadn't drunk much. Michael still had a headache from the graduation party the previous night. During dinner, They'd opened one beer and hadn't even finished it between him and Jake. Jake didn't go home either. He was staying the night at Michael's, sharing his room. When Michael Thompson finished his shower and returned to his room, he found Jake Wilson had pulled up a chair by the windowsill, intently staring at the pine bonsai plant sitting there. Seeing Michael, Jake immediately exclaimed, "Michael, why'd you bring this thing back?" "What do you mean, this thing? That's your Uncle Ben Thompson." Michael retorted, feigning indignation. "What kind of little brother are you? Don't you even greet your Uncle Ben Thompson when you see him? You're really not letting this joke go, are you?" Jake Wilson said, exasperated. Michael sighed helplessly. "I had to pay $200 for it. I can't just ditch it, can I?" The hotel had made him pay $200, money Olivia Sullivan had actually fronted for him. So he decided to treat the plant as a gift from his girlfriend, something to keep as a reminder. He crouched down to rummage through his closet for clothes, having just come out of the bathroom wearing only boxers. Jake Wilson stared at Michael Thompson's bare back for a long moment, looking like he wanted to say something but was too embarrassed. Michael noticed and turned around to face Jake, annoyed. "What the hell's wrong with you, staring at me like that? Just say what you want to say." "No, it's nothing really." Jake stammered for a while. That was his problem. Whether you called it indecisive or just plain timid, he'd hem and haw forever before getting to the point. Michael Thompson knew this annoying habit well. "If you don't say it now, I'm not listening later." Jake finally confessed. "It's just," Claire Evans said, "she's also applying to Capital Teachers College." Michael Thompson paused for a second. "That's it? Isn't that fine?" Michael Thompson asked. Jake and Claire Evans had similar grades, and Capital Teachers College was a good, achievable option for both of them. It seemed pretty normal for a girl to choose a teacher's college planning to become a teacher. But just as Michael knew Jake, Jake also knew Michael, his childhood friend. So he couldn't tell if Michael was being sarcastic. Jake decided to be more direct. "Michael, I think Claire Evans might be kind of into me." Michael clicked his tongue. "Well, you're in for it then. Claire's got one heck of a temper." Jake looked a bit awkward and muttered defensively, She's not that bad. Sometimes she's pretty cute." "Cute how?" "She looks cute." Jake was an honest kid, a straight shooter, definitely telling it like it was. Michael Thompson thought for a moment, clapped his hands together, and declared confidently, "Well, she's not as cute as my girlfriend." "Can we even talk?" Jake exclaimed, loudly voicing his frustration. Comparing her to a beauty queen like Olivia Sullivan wasn't exactly fair, of course. But honestly, Claire Evans wasn't bad at all. She had a well-proportioned figure, delicate features that were easy on the eyes, and an outgoing, cheerful personality. Her only real drawback was being undeniably feisty. Yeah, we can talk." Michael grinned and sidled over, slinging an arm around Jake's shoulder. "Claire Evans really is a good girl. A bit short-tempered, maybe, but she has a good heart. What do you think, though?" Jake Wilson was silent for a long time, his hands fidgeting nervously as if he didn't know where to put them. Michael didn't rush him, just waited. After quite a while, Jake finally looked up, asking with a wry smile, "Michael, do you think I have a chance with Emily Thompson?" Michael Thompson shot him down instantly, a triple denial without even pausing to think. "Impossible. No chance. Don't even think about it." Although Jake had expected this answer, he still asked, a little defiantly, "Why not?" Michael countered, "Can you imagine Emily Thompson dating me?" Jake tilted his head, thought about it for a second, and then shuddered dramatically, shaking his head vigorously. "No way, that's disgusting." Michael spread his hands. "Exactly. And that's how Emily Thompson thinks about you, too." Jake's eyebrows practically tied themselves in knots. "That's different. You two are first cousins, but I'm not." "It's the same," Michael said, clapping him on the shoulder again. "This might sound cheesy or gross, but I really do think of you as a brother, Jake." He paused. "And unfortunately, Emily feels the exact same way. Get it?" Jake Wilson sat blankly for a moment, a thoughtful yet downcast expression on his face. Michael Thompson asked kindly, "As your good buddy, should I be having a drink with you right now?" "No need. I'm a bit tired, Michael. Let's just sleep," Jake Wilson said glumly, rolling over and getting under the covers, pulling them over his face. Michael Thompson shrugged and didn't press further. Some things were best figured out on one's own. Instead of clinging to that past infatuation, it was better to smarten up and pull back before getting in too deep. Michael Thompson was also feeling tired. Just as he got into bed and was about to pull up the covers, he suddenly remembered something. He yanked at the blanket frantically, cursing, "Damn it, Jake Wilson, you son of a bitch. You got into my bed without even showering? Get the hell out and wash up." The SAT finished on June 10th, but the results wouldn't be out until the 23rd, and report cards were distributed at school on the 25th. During this time, other graduates might have been partying wildly, but Michael Thompson wasn't. After resting for 2 days, his life returned to pretty much normal. Every day involved drawing and carving. Occasionally, after a mining day at the Thompson family mine, he'd wander over there and use his steadfast skill to find some high-quality raw materials among the ore. The Thompson family mine primarily made money in 2 ways. One was through high-value raw stones with decent appearance and integrity, which were sent to the Heritage Art Gallery in Sculpture Town for regular auctions. The other was the fragmented material from blasting, usually sold to buyers at a fixed price per cubic meter. A cubic meter of stone weighed about 2 or 3 tons, and the exact price depended on the overall quality output of the mine. These fragments usually contained some decent smaller pieces, so buyers could generally make some profit, but it required significant labor costs to sort through, a profit the Thompson family didn't pursue. The raw stones extracted from their family-contracted mine were generally of excellent quality. Michael Thompson had been quite satisfied with his finds after a few visits. The only downside was that the mine produced wax stone varieties like foam-min green, foam-min yellow, and lamplight jelly, all excellent materials for seals, but rarely used for large pieces, and large, high-quality pieces were rare. Michael Thompson preferred creating larger decorative pieces, like house-guarding sculptures, but without suitable material. Carving small seals at home became a way to pass the time. Although he treated them as practice pieces, the materials were all high quality, worth at least 5 figures. Of course, before Michael Thompson identified them, they were just small, leftover scraps worth only a few hundred or maybe $1,000. After all, besides Michael Thompson, no one could guarantee that a purchased raw stone would reveal good material inside once cut. So, when the elders saw him taking them, they didn't think much of it, assuming it was just for practice. Michael Thompson carefully stored these carved seals, leaving the bottoms unengraved to make them suitable for future gifts. In this day and age, gifting cigarettes or alcohol might seem tacky, but giving a seal made of fine material was considered quite elegant, a refined tradition inherited from ancient scholars and emulated by some wealthy families today. Michael Thompson prepared the best seals for both Samuel Shaw and Elizabeth Shaw, planning to give them as return gifts when he went back. He thought for a moment, and also prepared a lion paperweight made of Green Mountain wax stone for Arthur Sullivan. Although the man might not care much for it, expressing goodwill now and then was always a good idea. From the day after the SAT until the day report card were handed out on the 25th, Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan talked on the phone for hours every day, but they only met in person once. That meeting only happened because he used the excuse of delivering the paperweight to Arthur Sullivan to see Olivia Sullivan. Olivia Sullivan was going through a tough time recently. Her parents were divorcing. Because of the incident with Ethan Sullivan, the couple, who had long lost affection for each other, had finally reached a breaking point. This issue had actually started brewing back when Michael Thompson went to Boston for school. Arthur Sullivan had suppressed it to avoid affecting Olivia Sullivan's mood during the SATs, but now that she had graduated, the matter couldn't be hidden once she returned home. The divorce between Harold Sullivan and Claire Sullivan was inevitable. The main conflict now revolved around dividing assets, escalating to the point of legal battles. Michael Thompson felt sorry for her and had thought about taking Olivia Sullivan out to relax and clear her head. But during their meeting, when he delivered the paperweight, she clearly wasn't in the mood, leaving him feeling a bit helpless. They just had a simple meeting and meal before Michael Thompson took her back home. Consequently, his original plan to bring Olivia Sullivan home to meet his parents had to be postponed. Now was definitely not the right time. Finally, the day to pick up report cards arrived. Michael Thompson went to school in the afternoon, heading straight to Ms. Evans's office. The art studio program had few students, so Ms. Evans's office was almost empty, unlike the offices of other homeroom teachers, which were packed with students consulting about target schools and majors. Ms. Evans was a relatively young, new teacher without airs. Seeing Michael Thompson, she complained, "You're the only one showing up this afternoon. Otherwise, I could have left work already. Why leave so early? Got a blind date today, too." Michael Thompson joked, hitting a sore spot. Ms. Evans had rather bad luck. Her own qualifications weren't bad, but she seemed to attract problematic guys. She'd had several boyfriends. Either the guy got bored and broke up, or she discovered he was cheating with multiple partners and ended things. Time slipped by, and now, at 31, she was a regular on the blind date circuit. Both students in the art studio program knew Ms. Evans's pastime was blind dating, turning her into someone desperate to get married. Ms. Evans flushed red with annoyance, waving the report card in her hand irritably. "Is that any way to joke with your teacher?" Don't you want your report card? Michael Thompson waved his hand nonchalantly. Don't need it. I'm going straight to Rhode Island School of Design anyway. You really are lucky, you brat. Ms. Evans knew threatening him with the report card was useless and rubbed her forehead helplessly. You'll be quite the hotshot at our ISD. The honorary president is your Samuel Shaw. You can practically do whatever you want. You make me sound like a bully, Michael Thompson laughed, taking the report card Ms. Evans handed him and glancing at the scores. Because Jiang province had an additional 60-point optional module compared to other provinces, the total score was 810. Michael Thompson's score was 770. Given how difficult this year's Jiang province SAT paper was, this score was extremely impressive. It meant he could easily choose any university except for the top 2 Ivy League universities nationwide, including Jiang Province University, the 3rd best in the country. And he was an art student. Ms. Evans even teased, this score is wasted on you. You could get into RISD with 500 points, just enough to pass the threshold for a second-tier university. It would be great if you could share the extra points with other students. Michael Thompson readily agreed. Sure, I can spare some for Travis. Could you put a word for me? Who am I supposed to put in a word with? Laura Gibson snapped, then brought up Travis Miller. But Travis didn't even get into college this time. It makes me so mad. He's the only one in the whole class who didn't get in. Michael Thompson chuckled, listening to Laura Gibson's complaints. He hadn't been in the art studio program for long, and Travis Miller was the only one he was reasonably close to. Travis Miller was repeating the year, and if he didn't get into college this time either, he'd already decided to quit school and go work in the building materials business with his dad. He'd told Michael Thompson this before. After Michael Thompson had been chatting with Laura Gibson for a while, a few other female teachers came over. Seeing Michael, they started teasing him about confessing his feelings to Olivia Sullivan on graduation day. Although these teachers were strict about students dating during the school year, Michael had graduated now, so their chat felt less like teacher-student and more like friends casually talking. Laura Gibson, even your student is ahead of you. You need to hurry up and sort out your own love life. Laura Gibson, annoyed by her colleagues' teasing, quickly shooed Michael Thompson away. Go on, get out of here. You don't need to pick a major or a school. Just grab your report card and scram. All right, I'm going. Michael Thompson decided not to stay and keep Laura Gibson from leaving work. After saying goodbye to the other teachers in the office, he left. Meanwhile, on the 5th floor of the other academic building, where the recently graduated honors class was located, Jake Wilson was squatting by the door, staring at the score on his report card. Just then, Claire Evans came out of the office, looking quite pleased. She gave Jake Wilson a gentle nudge with her foot. How'd you do? 657, Jake Wilson said with a wry smile. Honestly, it's better than I expected, but the teacher said it's not a sure thing for the Ivy League universities. Even if I got in, I might not get a good major. They asked if I wanted to consider Jiangshi Normal University. So what are you thinking? I applied to both, but my first choice is still the Ivy League universities. Jake Wilson sounded a bit resigned. With a score like that, stuck in the middle, there wasn't much else he could do. He looked at Claire Evans. What about you? Claire Evans beamed and showed him her report card. Ta-da! 660. That's only 3 points higher than me. Still higher than you. Claire Evans lifted her chin smugly. Jake Wilson just chuckled helplessly. There were no seats in the hallway, so she smoothed the back of her skirt and sat down next to Jake Wilson without hesitation. Jake Wilson scooted over a bit, and Claire Evans immediately scooted closer to him. He scratched his head awkwardly and stammered, changing the subject. Hasn't Olivia Sullivan come out yet? Claire Evans noticed his slight movements and grinned mischievously. She should be out soon. Olivia Sullivan, you did very well this time. Barring any surprises, it looks like our school will finally have the city's top scorer this year. In the office, Mr. Wilson praised Olivia Sullivan, a proud look inevitably showing on his face. It was the first time since he started teaching that his class had produced the city's top scorer. Plus, Oakwood High School had always ranked near the bottom among the key provincial high schools in Green Valley. This was a real moment of vindication. Other teachers and students from different classes were also in the office, and hearing this, they all looked over with envy. Olivia Sullivan looked at her report card, her eyes smiling, feeling very pleased. There was a sense of relief, knowing that all her hard work over the years hadn't been in vain. Behind her, one of her classmates came over and asked eagerly, Olivia, have you decided which university you want to go to? The one who came over to chat was the former class monitor, Gregory Wilson. Gregory Wilson had also done very well this time, unexpectedly well even, and he couldn't help feeling a bit smug. He said to Olivia Sullivan, which university are you applying to? Maybe we'll end up being college classmates. Picked your major yet? His overly familiar tone and attitude made Olivia Sullivan frown slightly. She felt a bit uncomfortable. Before she could speak, however, Mr. Wilson tactfully interjected, Gregory, you did well too, but Harvard University might still be a bit of stretch. Gregory Wilson was momentarily stunned. Then his expression darkened. Harvard University. With his score, he really couldn't get in. He had thought maybe he had a chance. But Gregory Wilson didn't give up. He deliberately said, speaking of which, that guy Michael Thompson must have really embarrassed you the other day, right? Doing something like that in front of so many teachers and students. But don't take it too hard. That's just how he is, like some kind of punk. It sounded like he was making excuses for Michael Thompson, but he was actually trying to stir up trouble. Pretty much the whole school knew about Michael Thompson's confession back then. But Olivia Sullivan hadn't given any response at the time. Plenty of guys in high school liked Olivia Sullivan, and Gregory Wilson was one of them. Although he knew he almost certainly didn't stand a chance. Seeing someone else win the prize made him grit his teeth in frustration. Especially since he didn't think Michael Thompson was any better than him. For a guy like that to dare confess, wasn't he just asking to be laughed at? But before he could get out another snide remark, slap! Olivia Sullivan suddenly slammed her hand on the desk, glaring at him furiously. Gregory Wilson was baffled by her glare, feeling a little unnerved. But Olivia Sullivan looked around at all the people, swallowed her anger, finished filling out her target university and first-choice major, then stood up to leave. Mr. Wilson, I'm done filling this out. I'll head back now. Mr. Wilson had wanted to chat a bit more with his star student, but seeing the situation, he just said, all right then, you head back first. Goodbye, Mr. Wilson. Olivia Sullivan gathered her things to leave. Gregory Wilson quickly interjected. Let me give you a ride back. My dad's here with the car. You're heading back to the city, right? It's on the way. No, thank you. Don't be polite. We're classmates. Gregory Wilson blocked Olivia Sullivan's path. Olivia Sullivan had been frowning, looking quite unhappy, but suddenly her eyes lit up as she saw something, and a smile appeared on her face. Gregory Wilson thought she was smiling at him. Before he could feel happy about it, a hand suddenly clamped down on his shoulder. Class monitor Harold, how about you give this punk a ride home? I happen to be heading home, too. Gregory Wilson whipped his head around and saw Michael Thompson, who had appeared behind him at some point. Gregory's face instantly stiffened, his mouth twitching slightly. He hadn't expected to be caught red-handed talking badly about someone behind their back. What took you so long? Olivia Sullivan said, feigning slight annoyance. Hey, I was talking with Laura Gibson for a bit. Got held up. Michael Thompson released Gregory Wilson without a glance, walked over to Olivia Sullivan, and naturally took her hand. Olivia Sullivan blushed slightly and lightly tapped his chest. The teachers are still here. It's fine. You've got your stuff packed? Ready to go. I was about to go outside and wait for you. All right, let's go then. Michael Thompson said goodbye to their homeroom teacher, Mr. Wilson, and holding Olivia Sullivan's hand, headed out of the office. As they passed Gregory Wilson, Olivia Sullivan huffed, raised a small fist, and whispered fiercely, My boyfriend is not a punk. As soon as Olivia Sullivan and Michael Thompson left, the previously silent office erupted with hushed chatter. Are they really together? Damn, Michael Thompson actually pulled it off. Holy crap. Talk about a pig getting the prize cabbage. Well, Michael Thompson isn't a bad pig. I kind of like his type. Too bad. Too bad? Like you could ever compare to Olivia Sullivan. Hey, look at Gregory Wilson's face. Even though everyone was trying to keep their voices down, with so many people whispering at once, the office buzzed like a marketplace. When Michael Thompson had confessed his feelings, the whole senior class and all the teachers knew about it. But no one had taken it seriously. Olivia Sullivan was Oakwood High's undisputed queen bee, never short of admirers. People just figure Michael Thompson was the gutsiest one of the bunch. Nobody actually thought Olivia would say yes. Countless guys had confessed before, only to be turned down flat by her. Who would have guessed that this untouchable beauty would actually end up being snatched up by Michael Thompson? Suddenly, the office was filled with a mix of envy, jealousy, and regret. Some guys kicked themselves for not having the courage to confess first. Maybe Olivia had only turned everyone else down because she didn't want to date in high school. Now that they'd graduated, maybe if they confessed before Michael Thompson, they might have had a shot. But Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan's little display of affection in the office hit Gregory Wilson the hardest. Listening to the whispers around him, catching the mix of mocking and pitying glances, his face paled. Olivia's parting shot whispered angrily, My boyfriend is not a punk, made his head spin, his mind going completely blank. Michael Thompson actually got her? Unbelievable. Turns out I was the clown all along. Gregory just wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Every glance felt like mockery. Mr. Wilson, their homeroom teacher, who had witnessed the whole thing, was torn between amusement and exasperation. That Michael Thompson, still the same stubborn brat, never willing to back down or lose face, he thought, glancing at Gregory with a touch of pity. Mr. Wilson cleared his throat, offering Gregory an out. Gregory, class president, didn't you still need to discuss your university and major choices? The student ahead of you is done. Why don't you come up now? Taha! Michael Thompson, you're seriously messed up, Claire Evans choked out, clutching her stomach as she doubled over laughing. They had met up with Jake Wilson and Claire after leaving the main building, and Michael had just recounted the office drama. What do you mean, messed up? That's slander, Michael retorted, annoyed. Talking trash behind someone's back is what's messed up. Claire blinked, a mischievous glint in her eyes. But wasn't his description pretty spot on? Punk Michael Thompson? All right then, let's see if you're still talking tough when you receive a settlement agreement from my lawyers. After a bit more bickering between Michael and Claire, the four of them left the school grounds, laughing and chatting, heading to a smoothie shop just outside the school plaza for a break. Once they settled into the smoothie shop, Claire asked, "We've still got 2 months till college starts. What's everyone planning to do?" "Jake and I are planning to learn how to drive and get our licenses," Michael said. "What about you two?" "I have to go back to my hometown," Claire sighed, pulling a face. "Probably won't be able to get away much after that." She turned to Olivia. "What about you, Olivia? Getting your license with Michael?" Olivia shook her head. "Harvard has a spot for an exchange student. If everything works out, I might go abroad for a month this summer and then start classes normally in the fall." As she spoke, she kept stealing glances at Michael, trying to gauge his reaction. Claire gasped dramatically. "Already? But the acceptance letters haven't even arrived." "Actually," Olivia admitted sheepishly, "when the scores came out, Harvard and a few other schools' admissions offices called my house. So the spot is pretty much confirmed." "Ah, does that mean I won't see you all summer?" Claire pouted. "I was hoping I could sneak away and hang out with you." Michael had been chewing on his smoothie straw without drinking or saying anything. He didn't really like smoothies. Jake nudged him gently. "Michael," he whispered, "Olivia's going abroad. Aren't you going to say anything?" "It's not like she's not coming back," Michael replied nonchalantly. He put down his smoothie and asked Olivia directly, "So, are you planning to study abroad after graduation?" What do you think about it?" Olivia asked hesitantly, her expression troubled. Claire and Jake exchanged glances. The mood suddenly felt tense. They had only just gotten together, and Olivia was already thinking about studying abroad after college. Long distance was tough enough, but a different country. Could Michael's personality handle that? Michael considered this for a moment, then noticed the other 3 staring at him anxiously. He grinned. "What are you all looking at me for?" He pointed himself cockily. "Don't let this fool you. My foreign language skills are top-notch. Italian, French, German, English, I'm fluent. Doesn't matter which country, I'll be fine." At the same time, Olivia heard Michael's inner thoughts. Come to think of it, in our past life, she was always the one supporting my career, making sacrifices and compromises for me. Were her dreams. She pushed so hard for Peking University in high school, and now she's barely graduated and already thinking about grad school. She must have her own ambitions, right? This time, it's my turn to support her. Her eyes misted over as a warmth spread through her chest. Michael meant he would go abroad with her if she decided to go. Jake quickly jumped in to ease the tension. "Whoa, isn't that getting a little ahead of ourselves? We just graduated high school, and we're already talking post-college plans." "Yeah, seriously," Claire agreed. "Let's drop it. Talk about something happy." Michael seized the opportunity to change the subject, turning to Claire with a teasing grin. "Okay, then how about you tell us why Miss Claire Evans applied to Beijing Normal University?" What reason could there be? Teaching is a great profession. I just like the idea of being a teacher." "No, personal reasons." Michael needled. Jake immediately started coughing, and Claire flushed bright red. "Michael Thompson, do you have a death wish?" she snapped. Olivia wiped the corner of her eye, smiling along with them. Life seemed to settle back into a calmer rhythm after they got their final grades. Just a few days after their smoothie shop chat, Olivia Sullivan boarded a plane to the UK for her summer program. Michael had wanted to go with her, but realized that by the time he got a visa sorted out, she'd probably be on her way back already, so he dropped the idea. He fell back into his usual routine, making time to get his driver's license with Jake. Before they knew it, the 2 months flew by, and it was time to head off to university. On the day they were heading to school, Jake Wilson and Michael Thompson met at the Pine Ridge County train station. "Michael, I thought you were driving. Maybe when I get my pilot's license, I'll fly you there. Michael Thompson was a little bummed by Jake Wilson's teasing. He and Jake Wilson had gotten their driver's licenses over the summer break, but his family didn't trust him to drive alone all the way to Boston, and Robert Thompson wouldn't let him take his new SUV. So, he reluctantly gave up and settled for taking the train and then a plane. Traveling today were Michael Thompson, his cousin Emily Thompson, and Jake Wilson. Claire Evans had left yesterday. Her family was taking her, so she couldn't travel with Michael and the others. Olivia Sullivan was just returning from the UK and flying directly into Boston. Michael Thompson had timed his flight ticket purchase, so he'd arrive this afternoon, just around the time Olivia Sullivan's flight landed, giving him time to meet her at the International Arrivals Terminal. The train ride from Pine Ridge County to Riverside City was short, only half an hour. After getting off the train, there was a direct bus to the airport. Once there, they just needed to get their boarding passes and wait to board. The whole trip to Boston would take about 5 or 6 hours. Michael Thompson had made this trip countless times, so he was quite calm, just finding the journey itself tiring. But it was the first time Emily Thompson and Jake Wilson had traveled out of state, so they were a bit excited. He watched Emily Thompson dump out a huge bag of snacks and teased, "Are you a kindergartner going on a field trip? Mind your own business, and don't eat my chips." Emily Thompson shot him a look, munching loudly on her chips while watching a show on her phone. Meanwhile, Jake Wilson, sitting next to Michael Thompson, couldn't stop talking excitedly, his mouth barely closing the entire way. "Michael, I'm a little nervous. How do I act like I'm not a first-time flyer? Keep some small change ready. When the flight attendant brings your drink, you need to tip her." "Really? Is that a thing? Are the drinks expensive?" "Pretty expensive. So, ask her for the menu beforehand. Check the prices before you order." "I know about that. Stuff they sell on trains is crazy expensive. Planes must be even worse." "Good thing you reminded me, Michael." Jake Wilson patted his chest, looking relieved. Emily Thompson glanced over, watching Michael Thompson lie through his teeth without batting an eye, while Jake Wilson next to him bought every word like a fool. Wasn't this just picking on a naive guy? She tied up her chip bag and said to Jake Wilson, exasperated, "You're going to die of stupidity. Michael Thompson is messing with you. Drinks on the plane are free." Emily Thompson said seriously, "It's the meals you have to pay for. And the thing is, they force them on you, so make sure you have cash ready." This girl was pretty sneaky herself. Nearby passengers overheard and couldn't help but chuckle. If they were excited about their first long trip and flight before boarding, that excitement quickly vanished once they were on the plane. Back then, you couldn't use cell phones on planes, and nobody had brought a book to pass the time. They just sat there like idiots. Michael Thompson didn't care. He fell asleep as soon as he got on the plane. Emily Thompson and Jake Wilson had already talked themselves out on the way there, and now just stared blankly at each other with nothing left to say, eventually drifting off too. Finally, 2 hours passed, and the plane landed. As the three got off the plane, Emily Thompson rubbed her arms. "Phew, it's much cooler here than back home." Pine Ridge County was way down south, and late August was still scorching hot. Emily Thompson had come wearing a short-sleeved top and a skirt, and as soon as she stepped off the plane, she felt a chill breeze under her skirt. Michael Thompson was adjusting his backpack. Hearing her, he laughed. "Boston's pretty far north. Definitely cooler than where we're from. It's still afternoon. By tonight, you might need a jacket to go out." After they collected their suitcases, Michael Thompson asked the other two, "What are you guys doing? Heading straight to your schools to check in?" "I still have to go pick someone up." Jake Wilson said loyally, "It's okay. I'll wait with you. It might be a while. You guys can go ahead." "What's the big deal? Just waiting a bit." Emily Thompson sighed, grabbing Jake Wilson by the collar. "Let's go, hurry up. Can't you see this guy thinks we're slowing him down?" Michael Thompson gave her a thumbs up. Emily Thompson, still holding Jake Wilson's collar with one hand, gave Michael the middle finger with the other, clearly showing her disdain for him ditching his friend and his cousin for a girl. Michael Thompson wasn't offended. After parting ways with Emily Thompson and Jake Wilson, he cheerfully headed off towards the International Arrivals exit to meet his person. "Olivia, I didn't realize your English was so good." Meanwhile, at the International Arrivals exit, a group of about 70 or 80 people emerged, dragging large and small suitcases. Olivia Sullivan was among them. These were Peking University students and their supervising teachers, just finishing their exchange program. Beside her walked a girl with a bob haircut. Though not overweight, she had a slightly round face and wore oversized square glasses with lenses as thick as shoe soles, giving her a somewhat dorky look. This girl was Dorothy Miller. She had been Olivia Sullivan's roommate during their exchange semester at the university in the UK, and they were probably the closest among the group. Dorothy Miller said, somewhat troubled, Honestly, this whole past month, I barely understood anything those foreigners were saying, and I scored 145 on my SAT English. Spoken English is totally different from test English. Feels like the whole trip was pointless. It was okay. Some things were hard for me to understand too. I had a half guess. Olivia Sullivan smiled shyly. Dorothy Miller said, "By the way, I still don't know your major. I'm in the School of Economics and Management, Finance Specialization." Olivia Sullivan replied, "I'm also in Economics and Management, but International Trade." "Really? Then we could take the big lecture classes together." Dorothy Miller seemed thrilled, starting to daydream about the university life ahead. "I wonder what college will be like. There must be lots of cute guys. Upperclassmen or underclassmen. Which type is better?" Olivia Sullivan burst out laughing. "We're just freshmen this year. Where would the underclassmen come from?" "There'll be some eventually." Dorothy Miller silently clenched her fist. "College is my last chance at youth. If I don't find romance now, it'll be too late." She started recounting plots from various romance novels she'd read, drawing two conclusions. A youth without romance is crap. If I were any better looking, I wouldn't have gotten into Harvard University. Dorothy Miller felt like one of those martial arts masters in the novels, knowing all the theories of dating and flirting, but utterly unable to put them into practice. It was incredibly frustrating. "Olivia, you have to remember, guys are all the same. They don't cherish what comes too easily. So, if a boy starts pursuing you..." She earnestly imparted her wisdom to Olivia Sullivan. Olivia listened with such a serious expression, it looked like she was about to pull out a notebook and take notes. This brought Dorothy Miller immense satisfaction. "Okay, enough for now. We're almost out of the airport," she said. "Once the school shuttle gets here, I'll tell you more on the bus." "Oh, Olivia Sullivan said, looking a little embarrassed. "I might not be able to go with everyone." Dorothy Miller was puzzled. "Is your family picking you up? Are you for Boston?" "No, it's not my family." Olivia Sullivan shook her head, smiling shyly. "My boyfriend is picking me up. He's also going to university in Boston this year." Boyfriend. When the word finally registered, Dorothy Miller felt like she'd turned to stone. She couldn't believe Olivia Sullivan actually had a boyfriend. Sure, the girl was pretty and cute, but she looked so young and innocent, not like a university student at all. Dorothy had subconsciously assumed Olivia must be much younger than the rest of their cohort, maybe even underage. Who would have thought? Talk about still waters running deep. Olivia Sullivan, oblivious to Dorothy's reaction beside her, cupped her face and squirmed shyly. "I told him not to come, that it was too much trouble, but he insisted. Still, it really has been a long time, and I did miss him a little." "Dorothy? What's wrong?" Dorothy took off her glasses, her expression dark as she wiped the lenses. "It's nothing. I just feel like I shouldn't be here. Maybe under the bus would be a better spot." Olivia Sullivan. Question mark. Couldn't she just talk normally? Why the sudden melodrama? Also, Dorothy continued, "I suddenly feel like someone who just bragged about their expertise, only to be immediately proven a complete amateur. I'm so embarrassed I could die. So, please just give me a minute alone." Why was she bringing up martial arts novels again when they were just talking? Olivia Sullivan felt quite hurt, wondering why her new friend had suddenly become so hostile. Was it because she mentioned her boyfriend? But it wasn't something to hide. Just then, she heard a familiar voice calling from nearby. "Olivia." Michael Thompson had arrived at the international arrivals gate just as the group from the university was coming out. He quickly spotted Olivia Sullivan in the crowd, called her name, and waved. Olivia saw him, her face lighting up with surprise as she pulled her suitcase and hurried towards him. There were upperclassmen from the university welcoming group at the arrivals gate, holding signs. They had long since noticed Olivia Sullivan, easily the prettiest girl in the crowd, and were subtly competing. Each wanted to be the first to approach her, offer help with her luggage, and hopefully get her number. But before any of them could make a move, someone else swooped right in. Michael Thompson sensed the unfriendly glares from the university upperclassmen, but wasn't too bothered. He was more focused on the glare coming from behind Olivia. It felt practically murderous. "You really came? Have you been waiting long?" Olivia Sullivan asked, both delighted and a little shy. Michael Thompson had actually just arrived, having timed it perfectly for her flight's landing. But he put on a weary expression. "Yeah, ages. My feet are killing me from standing here." Olivia Sullivan could hear his thoughts, so she knew perfectly well he'd just arrived. She gave him a playful pinch on his side. "Liar, you just got here." Caught in his lie, Michael Thompson didn't miss a beat, immediately switching tactics. "My girlfriend is so smart. I must have done something amazing in a past life to get this lucky." Olivia Sullivan linked her arm through his, her other hand resting on his waist as she demanded playfully, "Enough sweet talk. Did you miss me at all?" Her stance made it clear she wouldn't tolerate another lie. Michael Thompson chuckled. How could I possibly not miss you? She paused, listening for a moment, then nodded, satisfied. That part was true. Never mind that for now. Michael Thompson lowered his voice, whispering in her ear. Is that your friend? Why is she staring daggers at me? Olivia followed his subtle nod and saw Dorothy Miller standing behind them. She hesitated for a second, then stood on her tiptoes and whispered something back to Michael. Michael Thompson chuckled, then asked her, if Jake Wilson and Claire Evans were being all coupley right in front of you, how would you feel? Olivia's eyes lit up. Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Michael shook his head. You're certainly generous. Let me tell you, back when I was single, if a couple started getting lovey-dovey in front of me, guess what I wanted to do? Olivia asked curiously. What? Michael grinned fiercely. I want to light those two jerks on fire. But now, he sighed, I've become the very thing I used to hate. Olivia leaned closer, curious, just about to ask what he meant by that. Seizing the moment before she could react, Michael gave her a quick surprise kiss on the cheek. As Olivia blushed and covered her face, Michael glanced around at the onlookers, practically green with envy, let out a triumphant laugh, took Olivia's arm, and strode off. After leaving the airport, Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan got into a taxi, heading downtown. In the car, he started teasing her. So, student Olivia, here we are meeting again after precisely 37 days and about, 11 or 12 hours, and the potential new friend I just made gets scared off immediately. Don't you think you owe me some compensation for that? Olivia Sullivan immediately nodded. I brought you a present. She rummaged in her bag for a moment and pulled out an elegant bag containing what looked like a very expensive suit. Michael Thompson looked at the suit, a hint of wry amusement in his expression. Did you forget? I'm the one who made your Phoenix gold embroidery gown. He knew how to tailor clothes. Making a suit was well within his abilities. Don't you like it? Olivia looked a little crestfallen and mumbled, I spent ages choosing it. The truth was, she'd noticed Michael always wore the same suit whenever he visited the Sullivan family, and he'd grown a bit taller recently, so she wanted to get him a new one. But Michael Thompson was simply too lazy to make clothes for himself these days. In his life so far, he'd only made clothes for two people, Olivia Sullivan and the famous movie star, Vanessa Sullivan. As for Vanessa Sullivan's gown, he'd originally promised it in 6 months, but had dragged it out for a year and a half, and still hadn't delivered it. Even Michael felt a bit sheepish about that, especially since he'd already collected the full payment of hundreds of thousands of dollars. But circumstances change. Who could have predicted he'd suddenly be off to university in Boston, living at Samuel Shaw's place? Howard Banks already barely tolerated his sculpting. If Michael tried to bring a sewing machine into the Shaw house, Samuel Shaw would likely throw both him and the machine out onto the street. However, Michael had managed to finish Vanessa Sullivan's custom gown over the summer break. He even had it with him now, just waiting for delivery. And delivery couldn't wait any longer. The superstar was losing her patience, threatening lawyers' letters if the dress wasn't ready this year. If Michael hadn't periodically sent renderings to placate her, Vanessa Sullivan probably would have reported him to the authorities by now. In the end, Michael Thompson accepted Olivia's gift with a grin. Like it? How could I not like something you picked out for me? This is the first suit student Olivia has ever given me. I'll have to treat it like a family heirloom and pass it down through generations. Olivia Sullivan blushed. You should probably save something a bit more special for a family heirloom. Think of how confused our future kids would be. The ride from the airport to the Ivy League University wasn't short, taking a little over an hour. Olivia Sullivan had spent the night on the plane and, perhaps from lack of sleep, dozed off against William's shoulder shortly after they started talking in the car. William looked at her sleeping profile, the scent of her shampoo filling his senses. Olivia looked delicate like a porcelain doll, her features flawless even in sleep. Her long lashes rested gently against her cheeks, her lips slightly parted, revealing a hint of teeth as she breathed softly. Her left hand clutched William's sleeve, half her face buried in his arm, her expression peaceful. Since they had officially become a couple, Olivia had become much more affectionate. She now comfortably initiated the kind of intimate gestures she would have shyly avoided before. As she put it, hugging your boyfriend isn't illegal. After a while, William's arm started to ache. He tried to gently pull it away, nudging Olivia's head towards the car window with his fingers. The movement woke her. She immediately wrapped both arms around his arm, looking at him with mock annoyance. William quickly pulled her head back onto his shoulder, making her giggle. She nuzzled her face against his arm, found a comfortable position, and went back to sleep. The taxi driver watched the young couple through the rearview mirror, a little speechless. Great, Now I'm getting a free dose of PDA on the job. Wake up, we're here. When they arrived at the university gates, William nudged Olivia awake, signaling for her to get out. Olivia groggily followed him out of the car. William retrieved their luggage from the trunk. He had packed light, with just a small suitcase. Olivia, on the other hand, had a suitcase twice the size of his, a backpack, and a laptop bag. William only let her carry the laptop bag, unselfconsciously slinging her pink backpack over his shoulder. He held his suitcase in his left hand and hers in his right, heading towards the school plaza. Seeing William carrying her girly backpack, Olivia said shyly, "I can carry my own backpack." "Don't worry, I like the style," William replied unconcerned. The school plaza was already packed with cars, all belonging to parents dropping off their children. Members of the student council were at the entrance welcoming new students. A few older students loitered around smoking, their eyes lighting up whenever an attractive freshman girl walked by with her luggage. They'd quickly stub out their cigarettes and approach with a practiced, "Excuse me, freshman." Despite the scene, the university gates were undeniably beautiful. Just as William was about to escort Olivia through the gates, his phone rang in his pocket. Olivia looked at him curiously. William took out his phone, glanced at the caller ID, and explained, "It's John." He stepped aside to answer the call. John asked if he had arrived in Boston and why he hadn't checked in yet. John had planned to pick William up from the airport, but his wife had to be at the university for admissions, and with the early university start date, the kindergarten hadn't opened yet. Their nanny was off taking her own son to school, so John had to stay home with their daughter, Daisy. William assured him he was fine and said he'd be home for dinner that evening. Unexpectedly, John asked about Olivia. He wasn't aware that William and Olivia were dating. He only knew they were high school classmates and were on good terms, maybe sensing a slight spark between them. He asked about Olivia because Arthur, Olivia's grandfather and a good friend of John's, had called asking him to look out for her. "Aren't you high school classmates with her? Invite her over for Thanksgiving dinner tonight," John said. William glanced at Olivia and replied, "Okay, I'll ask her." After a few more exchanges, they hung up. William planned to drop Olivia off at her dorm before heading to his own registration. Her university and the Rhode Island School of Design were close by, in the same university town. William's campus and Olivia's were only separated by a pedestrian street, a 20-minute walk at most. Olivia asked curiously, "Are you living in the dorms or at John's house?" "At John's. It's pretty close to the school, since he and his wife both work at RISD," William replied casually. Then he turned to her and asked, "By the way, do you have any plans tonight?" Olivia thought for a moment, then shook her head. "Nothing much. After I register and get my orientation week stuff, I'll probably just relax. The opening ceremony is tomorrow. Are we going somewhere tonight?" She was a little excited, thinking William was asking her out on a date. William held up his phone. "John just asked if you wanted to join us for Thanksgiving dinner." "Thanksgiving dinner? At John's house?" Olivia was taken aback. "Does John know we're dating?" "No, but your grandfather asked John to look after you. They're good friends," William chuckled. "What's wrong? Are you afraid people will find out we're together?" Olivia quickly shook her head, then said with a worried expression, "But I haven't told my grandfather yet. I'm worried if John finds out, my grandfather will too." "So what if he finds out?" "It's bound to happen eventually," William said dismissively. "But what if? What if my grandfather doesn't approve of you?" Olivia fretted. William declared confidently, "Then I'll kidnap you from the Sullivan family and make you my wife." Olivia's worried expression softened into a smile, a mix of amusement and exasperation. "You're so dramatic. Don't underestimate me. Even if your whole family disapproves and throws hundreds of thousands of dollars in my face, I won't break up with you." "What about $1 million? Huh, $100 million? You hesitated. Why did you hesitate?" "Don't run away. Explain yourself." The sounds of youthful banter echoed through the tree-lined campus paths. William was familiar with the university's opening week procedures, having gone through it all before. He helped Olivia with her registration and then took her to the dormitory area. Dorms were usually off-limits to outsiders, especially the female dorms, which were strictly no-go zones for men. But since it was the first day, many parents were helping their children move in, so nobody questioned William as he wheeled Olivia's suitcase into the women's dorm. Michael Thompson left his own suitcase on the first floor of the dorm and carried Olivia Sullivan's up the stairs. Olivia's room, dorm 403, was a standard quad. "I thought you'd get an apartment off campus. Maybe live with Claire Evans or something," Michael asked Olivia as they climbed the stairs. "What made you decide to live in the dorms?" Olivia explained, "Claire's campus is too far from mine. Living together would make getting to class inconvenient. Besides," she added, a little sheepishly, "I've never lived in a dorm before." Michael thought for a moment, then offered some advice. Well, you need to be careful. Roommates are strangers, after all. You don't know their personalities or tempers. What if you end up with someone moody, someone looking for trouble, or some passive-aggressive gossip queen? Olivia quickly cut in. I know. I'll try to be tolerant. Robert Thompson told me to get along well with classmates in college. Michael looked at her, surprised. I meant you should tap into that Sullivan family assertiveness. We don't put up with jerks. And if you run into any trouble, you tell me, understand? That's what boyfriends are for. Is that really how you give advice? Michael chuckled, but he was still a bit worried. Even though this was an Ivy League university, college dorms, especially for girls, could be hotbeds of drama, the kind that made soap operas look tame, where 4 roommates could have 5 separate group chats. His girlfriend had such a gentle personality. What if someone bullied her? He said, if it really doesn't work out, just move out. We live close by. We can live together. In your dreams. Olivia shot him a look. Not happening before graduation. Michael clapped his hands together as if understanding. So, you mean we can live together after graduation? Olivia flushed crimson. That's not what I meant. You're twisting my words. By the time they finished talking, they had reached the door to dorm 403. Pushing the door open, they saw 3 girls who still looked a bit fresh out of high school, along with several parents helping clean the room and make the beds. Olivia, having arrived in the afternoon, was the last one there. The girls seemed quite friendly, asking questions as soon as Olivia and Michael entered. Are you guys also from Jiang province? One girl asked, looking thrilled, as if she'd run into someone from her hometown. Michael was helping Olivia make her bed, while Olivia sat below, chatting. Yeah, we're both from Jiang province. I'm from Ming City. How about you? Green Valley. Is he your brother? Another girl asked, sounding a little envious. It's so nice you both had family bring you. I came here all by myself. One tall girl, wearing makeup, asked Olivia with interest, what's your brother's name? Does he go to college in Boston too? Can I add him on Messenger? Seeing the others taking an interest in Michael, Olivia's face flushed red. Flustered, she blurted out a lie. He doesn't have Messenger. Just then, Michael finished making the bed and climbed down. Hearing her, he asked Doc, who says I don't have Messenger? The somewhat bold girl immediately pulled out her phone. Hey, handsome, can I add you on Messenger then? Sure, Michael readily agreed, taking out his phone and exchanging contact info with her. Olivia watched Michael exchange Messenger contacts with her new roommate, her expression souring slightly. She really wanted to be angry, but with so many people in the room, she could only bottle it up, forcing a polite, if slightly strained, smile, her teeth clenched a little too tightly. After Michael added the girl, whose profile read Laura Carter, he smiled politely. Please take good care of my girlfriend from now on. The girl, who had just been happy about adding Michael on Messenger, froze. Gee, girlfriend? Isn't he your brother? Michael shrugged. I just like hearing my girlfriend call me brother. You're terrible. Laura Carter gave Michael a look, offering a rather accurate assessment. Meanwhile, Olivia, who had been sulking, suddenly brightened. But then she remembered her lie about Michael not having Messenger had been exposed, and everyone must have realized her little possessive thought, which made her feel awkward again. Seeing Michael still chatting enthusiastically with her roommate, a wave of jealousy washed over her. Michael Thompson, don't you need to go register at your own school? It's already 3 p.m. You should get going. Seeing his little pot of vinegar had tipped over, Michael decided not to stay longer. It was indeed getting late. All right, I'm heading out. He waved goodbye to everyone in the room. The parents nodded kindly at him as he prepared to leave. Olivia felt reluctant to see him go. She stood up. I'll walk you to the campus gate. This university is huge. You might get lost. In reality, it was her first day here too. They left the dorm building and walked along the street outside. Olivia sniffed petulantly. When did I ever like calling you brother? What was that about? You did that on purpose. Michael hung head. Who told you not to introduce me as your boyfriend right away? Olivia didn't know how to describe her current mix of happiness and irritation. It was all Claire Evans' fault. She thought nonsensically, then said sourly, and you still added another girl's messenger. If I can't reach you, I can contact your roommate. Adding one isn't a big deal. Michael unlocked his phone and handed it to her. If you're unhappy about it, I'll delete all the other girls' contacts in my messenger. I'll even delete Emily Thompson. Don't. Olivia instantly lost her reason to be angry, just looking down unhappily and kicking at pebbles on the roadside. Michael smiled, took her hand, and squeezed her palm gently. Okay, head back now. I'll go register my school first. Then I'll come pick you up from yours later. Olivia kept her head down and nodded sullenly. Okay, but I'm walking you to the gate. Michael naturally agreed to this small request. After leaving Olivia's university, Michael dragged his own suitcase toward his school. He didn't have much luggage with him. Since he lived with Samuel Shaw, he didn't need to bring bedding or anything like that, and his fall and winter clothes were already stored at the Shaw's house. So, his suitcase only contained a few summer shirts. More than half the space was taken up by that large formal dress belonging to Vanessa Sullivan. Once Michael reached his school's entrance, he called Elizabeth Shaw. She seemed busy and told Michael to go pay his fees and pick up his orientation week materials first, then come find her in her office once he was done with everything. Michael Thompson strolled through the campus where he'd be spending the next 4 years, momentarily overwhelmed by the sights. The girls, who had seemed rather young and inexperienced in high school, appeared to have suddenly blossomed after starting college. There were so many beautiful girls, chattering lively as they passed him. The male-to-female ratio at the Rhode Island School of Design was about 3 to 7, so women outnumbered men. Everywhere Michael Thompson looked, he saw friendly upperclasswomen and fellow female freshmen, all excited about starting college life. As far as the quality of the girls went, RISD definitely seemed to have a higher concentration than the Ivy League universities. Attractive brainiacs like Olivia Sullivan were a rare breed. "Hey, freshman, you registering today? Which department are you in?" An enthusiastic upperclassman approached Michael Thompson, offering to show him the way. Michael Thompson replied politely, "Thanks, man, but I know my way around. Just looking around for now." "All right then, just give a shout if you need anything." The upperclassman waved and turned to greet other incoming students. He'd barely taken 2 steps before he heard a voice behind him. "Hey, freshman, are you enrolling today? Which department are you in? I can take you to registration." "Okay, thanks. That would be great." The upperclassman who had just been turned down looked back, stunned. He saw Michael Thompson, who had just politely refused his help, now eagerly trailing after a pretty upperclasswoman with a suitcase, and his eye couldn't help but twitch. "Are you in the Chinese painting department, freshman?" "What a coincidence, so am I. What's your major?" The pretty upperclasswoman asked cheerfully after hearing Michael Thompson's department on the way to the registration payment point. Riz's Chinese painting department only had 2 majors, calligraphy and Chinese painting. Michael Thompson had naturally enrolled in the Chinese painting major. He could have actually gone for sculpture in the Fine Arts Division, or even fashion design in the School of Design. But Howard Banks had been non-negotiable on this point. The apprentice of a Chinese painting master, not formally trained in the Chinese painting department? Unthinkable. Besides, he was an honorary president and visiting professor at RISD. There was no way he'd let Michael Thompson enroll in any other major. Michael Thompson didn't particularly mind, though. Worst case, he could just pursue a double or even triple major. Chinese painting. What about you? Me too. The upperclasswoman's attitude instantly warmed. I'm Zhao Yuehua, from our department's student union. If you ever need anything, freshman, feel free to find me. What's your name? Michael Thompson. Where are you from, Michael? Jiangsu Province. Michael Thompson and Zhao Yuehua chatted casually as they headed to the Chinese painting department, paid tuition at the advisor's office, and picked up orientation week gear. Is this all the luggage you brought? Zhao Yuehua had intended to help Michael Thompson carry his things to his dorm. Which dorm building are you in? I can walk you over. Michael Thompson shook his head. I'm not living on campus. Freshmen aren't allowed to live off campus, Zhao Yuehua reminded him kindly. Michael Thompson smiled. It's fine. Arrangements have already been made with the school. Oh, I see. Zhao Yuehua gave Michael Thompson a slightly curious glance, but didn't press further. She figured Michael Thompson must be some rich kid with connections, since freshmen were generally required to live on campus. The school was usually quite strict about that rule, only loosening up for sophomores and above. Michael Thompson asked, Hey, Zhao Yuehua, do you know where Professor Elizabeth Shaw's office is? Zhao Yuehua actually did know. Professor Shaw isn't in our department, though, she asked, puzzled. Why are you looking for her? Do you know her? Michael Thompson nodded. Yeah, Professor Shaw is my Shenyang, my master's wife. She asked me to look her up after I registered. Zhao Yuehua's enthusiasm returned. Oh, then let me take you there. Professor Shaw is in the School of Humanities. Thanks so much, Zhao Yuehua. Let me treat you to a meal sometime. Ah, I'll hold you to that. After dropping Michael Thompson off at the School of Humanities and saying goodbye, Zhao Yuehua headed back toward the information desk on the school plaza. On her way back, she felt quite pleased. This year's freshmen aren't half bad. No wonder he can live off campus as a freshman, though. He must have connections inside the school. She suddenly stopped walking, realizing something she'd overlooked. Shenyang? Wait, does that mean Professor Elizabeth Shaw's husband is his master? Professor Shaw's husband? Isn't that President Howard Banks? Zhao Yuehua was stunned. At RISD, Even though Howard Banks was only the honorary president and technically just a visiting professor in the Chinese painting department, his reputation carried far more weight than the actual president's. That freshman, he's a major catch. Meanwhile, Michael Thompson arrived at Elizabeth Shaw's office and saw his Shenyang for the first time in 3 months. Elizabeth Shaw was on the phone. Seeing Michael Thompson knock and enter, she smiled and motioned for him to take a seat. Just send those materials over next week. Oh, and about the freshman ceremony tomorrow, my Howard will be there. Let the president know, so he doesn't worry. The scholarship slots the department applied for last time. Elizabeth Shaw continued her phone conversation for a while. It was clear she was very busy with the start of the semester. When she finally hung up, she stood up, brewed a cup of tea for Michael Thompson, and brought it over. Michael, she said with a smile, looks like your mom spoiled you back home. You put on some weight since you left. Doesn't affect my good looks. Michael Thompson waved dismissively. Besides, I had pretty upper-class women hitting on me on the way over. Affects your bragging, maybe, Elizabeth Shaw chuckled, sitting down beside him. So, how do you like college so far? Michael Thompson nodded. It's great. Lots of pretty girls. Elizabeth Shaw teased. Seen anyone you like yet? Your Shenyang can play matchmaker for you. Ah, well, I'm afraid my girlfriend might mind. Michael Thompson laughed noncommittally. Elizabeth Shaw pursed her lips. Nowadays, so many young students are into that anime stuff, calling those female characters in cartoons their girlfriends or waifus or whatever. Michael, don't you turn into one of those guys. What's so great about 2D girls? Many art students get into drawing because they like things like anime. Elizabeth Shaw, being a professor, had done dormitory inspections before. You walk into some rooms, and there's a whole shelf full of female figurines. What are they called? Figures? She'd heard they cost quite a bit, hundreds or even thousands of dollars each. Elizabeth Shaw was genuinely a little worried about Michael. She remembered thinking his expression was a bit intense when he was carving that large agate stone back in the sculpture yard, almost like he was carving his own wife. She even thought it might be best to set Michael up with a girlfriend soon, now that he was in college, so he could appreciate the virtues of real girls sooner rather than later. If things went on like this, what if he turned into someone odd? It took Michael Thompson a long moment to understand what Elizabeth Shaw was implying. No, he exclaimed, startled. My girlfriend isn't a 2D character. See? You can't even take a little teasing, Elizabeth Shaw said, sounding both helpless and earnest. Don't get too lost in virtual things, all right? Michael Thompson fell silent. Mrs. Shaw, can we get back to the important stuff? He desperately wanted to shout. My girlfriend is real. She's warm when I hold her, and her lips are soft when I kiss her. But explaining that to Elizabeth Shaw right now felt both embarrassing and stupid. Elizabeth didn't push the subject further and got down to business with Michael. Tomorrow's the opening ceremony. You're going to be the freshman representative. I had someone write a speech for you. Go home tonight, read it over, get familiar with it, and don't look nervous when you go up on stage tomorrow. What? Michael was stunned. Elizabeth Shaw smiled. You've really made Samuel Shaw proud this time. An academic score of 770 and a perfect score in your major courses. Entering as the top freshman. What are your thoughts? Michael Thompson paused for a moment, then said, Guess this year's class at RISD isn't all that great. Give you an inch and you take a mile, huh? Elizabeth rolled her eyes at him, smiling. As soon as your SAT scores came out, your Samuel Shaw went to check. At first, he was worried you wouldn't even meet the minimum score for undergrad admission. He kept muttering to me that he should have spared more time for your SAT prep. Michael Thompson gave a wry smile. It's not that bad, really. Does Samuel Shaw have that little faith in me? Well, Samuel took up so much of your high school time. If you hadn't made the cutoff and had to repeat a year, he wouldn't have been able to face your Margaret Thompson. Wouldn't that be ruining your prospects? Elizabeth Shaw chuckled. So, the moment the Jiang province scores were released, your Samuel Shaw couldn't wait to check yours. When he saw your score, his jaw nearly hit the floor. He thought he must have seen an extra 0. He even called me over, made me confirm it several times. You should have seen the look on his face. It was hilarious. She seemed to recall the scene and couldn't help but smile. You really brought honor to your mentor this time. A 770, that brings your relative academic score to 129. Rhode Island School of Design considered both major course scores and academic scores for admission. The academic score was calculated by dividing the raw score by the province's Tier 1 admission cutoff and multiplying by 100. The Tier 1 cutoff in Jiang province this year was 598. Michael Thompson's SAT score of 770 resulted in a relative academic score of 129, while the minimum relative score for admission to the Chinese painting major this year was only 100. Elizabeth Shaw had initially thought Michael's artistic talent was just ridiculously strong, enough to convince her husband to take on an apprentice at his age. She hadn't expected her young student to be so brilliant academically as well. With that SAT score, he could have gone to Ivy League universities or Tsinghua University, not just an art school. Elizabeth couldn't help remarking, "Are geniuses just geniuses at everything?" Michael Thompson smiled, but didn't say much. He knew his own situation best. He was a genuine genius when it came to art, but his academic abilities were just average. If it weren't for his learning machine system, his grades would have been about the same as in his previous life. However, the system was just an aid. It didn't instantly grant him skills with a whoosh. It merely provided instruction and more ample time. What truly mattered was the decade of consistent, hard work day in and day out. Labeling Michael Thompson as hardworking was definitely not an exaggeration. Elizabeth Shaw continued, "Plus, with all those art awards you've won, you have the most accomplishments among the freshmen. The school felt you should be the representative, so I accepted on your behalf." Michael wasn't keen on it and politely declined, "Maybe give the opportunity to someone who needs it more." "Why not? It's a great honor. I already told Margaret Thompson I'd send her some pictures," Elizabeth Shaw said. She had exchanged contact information with Margaret Thompson long ago and would occasionally call her chat. Michael Thompson pouted. Artists are aloof and march to their own beat. In reality, he just didn't want the hassle of memorizing a speech. But Elizabeth left no room for argument. "Absolutely not. I've already agreed. You're going home to memorize that speech, and if you're not on that stage tomorrow, I'll drag you up there myself." What does Samuel Shaw think? He surely wouldn't want me to be so high profile. He tried bringing up Howard Banks as a last resort. Elizabeth Shaw scoffed. "Don't even start. Your Samuel Shaw loves this kind of attention." He called and said if he weren't the freshman representative tomorrow, he'd go pee on Principal Wong's doorstep. Michael Thompson was speechless. He was truly seeing his mentor's undignified side, seeing no way out of it. Michael Thompson had no choice but to agree. Elizabeth Shaw still had things to do. She told Michael to wait for her after work so they could go back together in her car. But Michael declined. He still had to go pick up Olivia Sullivan. Elizabeth knew her husband had invited his old friend's granddaughter, who was starting university in Boston this year, over for dinner. She gave Michael $200, telling him not to make the girl take the bus, just grab a cab back. She was always finding ways to give Michael a little extra, spending money. Michael didn't refuse his teacher's wife's kindness. After leaving the School of Liberal Arts, he saw it was still early, quite a while before their dinner plans. So, he started wandering around campus. The Rhode Island School of Design campus was quite beautiful, with many buildings exuding an artistic atmosphere. A few couples strolled along the wooded paths. On the sports field, many students were playing ball, upperclassmen who had returned to school early. Apart from the freshmen, older university students wouldn't start classes for another 2 days. Michael wandered like a loiterer, taking everything in. He didn't forget to call his Thompson family to let them know he was okay, and he also called Jake Wilson and Emily Thompson to ask how things were on their end. Emily Thompson complained to him about how small the school was and how run down and old the buildings were. Her first reaction upon arrival was to grab her suitcase and hop in a cab straight back home. Jake Wilson, on the other hand, said the university cafeteria food was pretty good. Michael also tried calling Claire Evans, but the call didn't go through, indicating the line was busy. He figured Claire Evans was probably on a long call with his girlfriend, Olivia Sullivan. Michael watched people play basketball for a while. Feeling it was about time, he got up to head over to Harvard University to pick someone up. He had left his luggage in Elizabeth Shaw's office. She would bring it back when she finished work. Meanwhile, Olivia Sullivan was hiding on the balcony, talking to Claire Evans on the phone. Her roommates had just finished interrogating her. These academically gifted girls attending Ivy League universities, most of whom had never dated, were incredibly curious about Olivia Sullivan, who had a boyfriend, peppering her with all sorts of questions. Claire Evans's call had rescued her. "Robert Thompson dropped me off at school today," Claire Evans said over the phone, sounding a bit down. "They're planning to hang out in Boston for a couple of days before they leave, but then they're heading overseas again soon." Green Valley, much like Newport Coast, had a large population of overseas Chinese. Claire's family was typical. Her parents had gone abroad to work when she was young, leaving her to live with her grandparents. She usually only saw them for a few months around New Year's. This year was an exception. They'd come back for the summer because she was starting college. But Claire had long since adapted. She quickly perked up and switched topics. "Olivia, you guys have 4 people to a room at your university, right? I actually have 6. During orientation week in a couple of days, it's going to be a nightmare trying to get into the bathroom. Plus, I heard our dorm doesn't have hot water after midnight. Olivia Sullivan was surprised. We have to fight for the bathroom. Of course. Think about it, Claire explained. After the opening ceremony comes orientation week. Everyone's going to come back to the dorm sweaty all day. Who would want to shower first? Or are you planning on using the communal showers? Boston was considered a northern city, and cultural differences between the North and South existed. Students from the South often weren't comfortable with communal bathrooms at first. After all, it meant getting naked in front of strangers. Olivia Sullivan hadn't even thought about these things and felt a bit conflicted. She'd never lived in a dorm before. Even when she moved out of her parents' house for the Honors Class A program in her sophomore year of high school, she lived in an off-campus apartment with Claire Evans, and they had a housekeeper to look after them. Michael Thompson had only reminded her to be mindful of roommate relationships in college. She hadn't expected so many other adjustments. Olivia Sullivan could only try to psych herself up. I'll get used to it. I'm actually a little worried you'll get bullied by your new roommates, Olivia Sullivan, Claire Evans fretted, sounding like a concerned mother hen. She really didn't feel reassured about her best friend. One of my roommates is super spoiled and demanding. I have a feeling getting along with her is going to be tough. Olivia Sullivan tried to reassure her. It's only the first day of check-in. Maybe she just looks hard to get along with. With some people, you know right away, Claire Evans retorted. Anyway, she's got total princess syndrome, complaining about this and that the second she walked into the dorm. If she's so high and mighty, why doesn't she just move out? Claire's annoyance was clear over the phone. Olivia Sullivan glanced behind her, through the window, into her dorm room. Her roommates were sitting around chatting, bursting into laughter now and then. She looked away. My roommates seem okay, actually. Well, that's good. I just worry because you haven't dealt with many different kinds of people. Maybe you can't tell yet, Claire Evans sighed. I wish I were at the same school and in the same dorm as you. Then we could look out for each other. Olivia Sullivan chuckled. You sound just like my mom. I'm just a mother hen protecting her little chick, Claire Evans joked. Too bad that big bad wolf Michael Thompson found an opening. No way, Olivia Sullivan protested, embarrassed. But Claire mentioning Michael Thompson reminded Olivia Sullivan that she promised to go to his uncle Samuel Shaw's house for dinner tonight. She glanced at the time on her phone and saw it was already getting late. Hey Claire, I have to go. Michael Thompson's coming to pick me up. All right. You just got back today. If I keep you any longer, that possessive guy Michael Thompson will probably call and yell at me, Claire Evans teased. Okay, talk later then. Remember to call me whenever. Okay, bye. Bye. As soon as Olivia Sullivan hung up, she saw Michael Thompson had indeed sent her a message on Messenger. Holding her phone with both hands, she looked down at the screen as she walked back into the dorm. Just as Olivia Sullivan stepped inside from the balcony, she heard the tall girl, Laura Carter, say cheerfully, "Look who's back. Our pretty roommate has returned. Let's all introduce ourselves, okay?" Laura Carter had a bright personality and seemed the most mature. While Olivia Sullivan had been on the phone, she had more or less taken charge of the room. She started, "I'm Laura Carter from Boston. I like playing the piano. I've passed level 10. The other girls introduced themselves friendly as well. Laura Carter was in bed 1, and Olivia Sullivan was in bed 4 by the window. The girl in bed 2 was Su Ling, a fiery girl from Sichuan province, not very tall, about 5 feet. The girl in bed 3, Hu Wei, wore glasses, had a round face, was a bit chubby, and was from Guangdong province with a very interesting accent. The dorm room brought together people from all over the country. After everyone had introduced themselves, Laura Carter turned to Olivia Sullivan. Olivia, we were thinking of grabbing dinner together tonight, sort of celebrate the formation of our dorm 403 family. Maybe hit some karaoke afterward? What do you think? Olivia Sullivan looked down, embarrassed. I actually have plans with Michael Thompson tonight. Hu Wei, who had been sitting quietly on her bed, suddenly leaned forward. It's our dorm's first dinner together. Can't you skip plans with your boyfriend, just this once? Come on. Olivia Sullivan looked conflicted. If it were just a date with Michael Thompson, she might have rescheduled for the dorm dinner. But tonight was dinner with family. She was supposed to go with Michael Thompson to his uncle Samuel Shaw's house. She stammered, tonight. Tonight's really not good. How about tomorrow? My treat. Perhaps feeling like her suggestion was shot down, Hu Wei sounded annoyed. That's no fun. Who knows what we'll be busy with tomorrow? We won't have time to go out then. Olivia Sullivan didn't know how to respond. Finally, Laura Carter stepped in to smooth things over. Okay, Olivia Sullivan said she can't make it. So, she must really have something important? Let her go. The 3 of us can still go. The girl from Sichuan, Su Ling, added bluntly, why are you trying to force her if she doesn't want to go? If she's not going, she's not going. I don't really feel like going either, actually. Her words made Laura Carter visibly awkward. The previously friendly atmosphere instantly turned cold. Downstairs below the university dorm building, Michael Thompson squatted by a flower bed, yawning as he waited. He glanced up at the girls' dormitory floor and muttered, "What's taking her so long?" After another short wait, Olivia Sullivan finally emerged from the dorm entrance. Michael Thompson stood up and walked towards her. "What took you so long?" When he reached Olivia Sullivan, he noticed her slightly downcast expression. He bent down slightly and pinched her cheek. "What's wrong? You don't look too happy." Olivia Sullivan shook her head, batting his mischievous hand away, and grumbled unhappily, "College isn't what I expected." Before going to Mr. Huang's house, Olivia Sullivan needed to get some gifts. Since it was her first time visiting an elder's home, she insisted on buying them. Michael Thompson went with her to a department store where they bought liquor and tobacco, plus a fruit basket. On the way, Olivia Sullivan told him all about the things happening in the dorm. While waiting for the shop to wrap the fruit basket, Olivia said worriedly, "Was it because I said the wrong thing? But I already promised to visit your family, Mr. Banks's place, first. It would be so rude to suddenly cancel." Michael Thompson patted her head comfortingly. "How could my girlfriend ever be wrong? And even if she was, we wouldn't admit it." Olivia shot him a reproachful look. "I'm being serious." Michael Thompson chuckled. "Okay, seriously, things like this will probably happen often. When people live under the same roof, it's normal for personalities to clash. It's just small stuff, it'll blow over quickly." He didn't think much of it. It really was a minor issue. Olivia Sullivan asked curiously, "So how do you get along with your classmates?" "If we click, we hang out. If not, we keep our distance. If someone's really clueless or crosses a line, I don't put up with it," Michael Thompson said bluntly. He could be perfectly pleasant with people he got along with, but if their personalities clashed, they couldn't expect any favors from him. But he added, "Guys and girls are different, though. If guys have a problem, worst case we get into a fight, and once it's over, it's over. We're all classmates. There's rarely any deep-seated hatred. What about girls? How should I know? I'm a guy." "You're not being serious again." Olivia Sullivan glared at him indignantly and pulled her hand away from his. "You are not allowed to hold my hand today." Michael Thompson threw his hands up. "Judge Sullivan, I object. I demand an appeal to reclaim my dignity as a boyfriend." Olivia Sullivan crossed her hands firmly in front of her chest like an X. "Denied. Not happening today." After getting the gifts, Michael Thompson and Olivia Sullivan took a taxi to the Banks house. During the ride, he kept trying to sneakily take Olivia Sullivan's hand, but she slapped his wandering hand away each time. Seems little Miss Olivia sticks to her principles. Just like the woman I like. Unable to hold her hand, Michael Thompson could only console himself with the thought. The taxi arrived shortly. The Banks place was close to both schools, less than a half-hour walk, and only 15 minutes by taxi. When Olivia Sullivan saw the Banks townhouse for the first time, her surprised expression was identical to Michael Thompson's when he first came. Owning an old-style townhouse in Boston definitely carried a sense of family honor. Perhaps because they knew Michael was bringing a guest, the courtyard gate was open. "Watch the threshold," Michael Thompson reminded Olivia before pushing the gate open and walking straight in. As soon as he entered, he called out, "Mr. Banks, I'm back." All right. I heard you the moment you stepped in the courtyard. Keep it down, I just got Daisy Shaw to sleep. Don't wake her up." From a main room, facing north, Howard Banks emerged carrying his young daughter, Daisy Shaw, grumbling at Michael Thompson. Olivia Sullivan, following Michael, saw Howard Banks and politely nodded a greeting. "Hello, Mr. Banks." Seeing Olivia, Howard Banks put on the smile of a kindly elder and nodded back. Yes. Old man Sullivan certainly has family honor, having such a beautiful granddaughter." Michael Thompson chimed in, "Mr. Banks, I think I'm the one with family honor here." Howard Banks asked, baffled, "What's it got to do with you, kid?" Olivia Sullivan's smile turned awkward. She reached behind Michael Thompson, hidden from Howard Banks's view, and secretly pinched his side. Michael Thompson winced, quickly heading inside. "Mr. Banks, these are the first visit gifts Miss Olivia bought for you. I'll put them inside." "Oh my, you really didn't need to bring anything. Why be so formal?" Howard Banks chuckled, quite pleased with Olivia Sullivan inwardly. Yes, a polite, well-mannered girl. He didn't particularly care for the gifts themselves. He'd quit smoking and drinking long ago when they were trying for a child. These gifts would likely end up being re-gifted anyway. What mattered was the gesture. Michael Thompson placed the gifts inside, then came back out and looked around the courtyard. "Mr. Banks, where's Elizabeth Shaw? Is she not back from the university yet?" Howard Banks pointed towards the West Wing. She's been back for a while. She was just mentioning how long you were taking and insisted on cooking something special for you herself. Michael Thompson said gleefully, "Looks like I'm in for a treat tonight." Howard Banks also chuckled and stepped aside. "All right, don't keep your friend standing out here in the courtyard. Come inside and sit down. I'll go ask Aunt Maggie to make some tea." Aunt Maggie was the Banks' housekeeper, a woman in her 40s whom Michael called Auntie Maggie. By a little after 6 in the evening, the dining table was laden with dishes. Elizabeth Shaw was an excellent cook, easily rivaling chefs at fancy restaurants. However, since she also worked, the housekeeper usually did the cooking, making it a rare occasion for her to prepare a meal herself. During dinner, Howard Banks kindly chatted with Olivia Sullivan, asking things like, "How has your grandfather's health been lately? And are you settling into Boston okay?" Olivia answered politely. Elizabeth Shaw held little Daisy Shaw, feeding her while occasionally whispering to Michael Thompson, complimenting Olivia's looks. Michael Thompson just smiled silently and focused on eating. When they were nearly finished eating, Elizabeth Shaw handed Daisy over to Aunt Maggie and cleared her throat. Howard Banks, who had been picking peanuts out of a cold dish with his chopsticks, immediately put them down when he heard his wife cough. He looked at Michael Thompson and said, "Michael, there's something I want to discuss with you." Without looking up, Michael Thompson replied, "It's about the early admission program, right?" "I know, Elizabeth Shaw told me." Howard Banks shook his head awkwardly. "No, not that. It's just, your aunt and I have a bit of a disagreement, and we wanted to get your opinion." Michael Thompson froze for a second, looking from Howard Banks to Elizabeth Shaw, his eyes wide with disbelief. "No way, Mr. Banks. You're thinking about divorce at your age." He added resolutely, "If you and Elizabeth Shaw can't decide, I can take care of little Daisy." Ahem. Cough, cough. Olivia Sullivan almost choked on her food, coughing repeatedly and quickly reaching for water. Howard Banks smacked Michael Thompson on the head, scolding him playfully. "You rascal, what nonsense are you talking about? Who's getting divorced? And even if we were, we wouldn't be asking for your opinion." Michael Thompson rubbed his head, puzzled. "Then what is it?" "It's about you. About your schooling." Turns out, Howard Banks had planned for Michael Thompson to skip orientation week and was also going to get him excused from the mandatory freshman evening study sessions. At Michael Thompson's university, freshmen were required to attend evening study hall, and their course load was already particularly heavy. But Howard Banks felt it was a waste of time. The National Youth Calligraphy and Painting Competition was coming up in October, and he wanted Michael Thompson to focus his energy on worthwhile pursuits. Besides, he didn't think Michael needed the evening study sessions. Freshman year already had plenty of daytime classes, leaving only the evenings free for Michael to study with him. He had it all figured out, but Elizabeth Shaw disagreed. She was worried about Michael Thompson, concerned he wouldn't build good relationships at university. College social dynamics weren't as close-knit as high school, she argued. Usually, roommates become your closest friends, but Michael wasn't even living on campus. If he seemed to be getting special treatment, he might not just fail to fit in, he could even be ostracized. If you asked Michael Thompson, though, he'd definitely side with Howard Banks, hand down. Military training was exhausting. Who would want to do that? And freshman evening study sessions were mostly pointless anyway. Better to relax at home than sit in a classroom fiddling with your phone. "I'll listen to Samuel Shaw." Michael Thompson stated his position immediately after Howard Banks explained everything, looking exceptionally well-behaved. Elizabeth Shaw sighed helplessly and tried to persuade him. "Michael, your university classmates could be valuable connections later on, especially if you enter the civil service system. The bonds you form with fellow students are stronger than casual friendships. You need to take this seriously." "I will. I'll definitely take it seriously," Michael Thompson said with a smile. "Don't worry about me in that regard, Elizabeth Shaw." Howard Banks waved his hand dismissively, looking rather pleased. "All right, it's settled then. Let's eat, let's eat." After dinner, Howard Banks chatted briefly with Olivia Sullivan about everyday things. But Olivia didn't want to get back to her dorm too late, so she excused herself and left just after 8. Michael Thompson offered to walk her back to campus. Leaving the Wilson family's place, they strolled slowly toward the university. Olivia Sullivan was enjoying this quiet time alone with Michael. She remarked, "It's clear Mr. Banks and Mrs. Shaw really care about you." "Yeah, the Shaw family is great," Michael Thompson agreed, nodding. Howard Banks often lamented that if Daisy Shaw weren't so much younger than Michael, he'd want Michael as his son-in-law, making their families even closer. When they reached the cluster of food stalls nestled between Harvard University and the Rhode Island School of Design, Michael Thompson suddenly seemed energized, pulling Olivia Sullivan along to buy snacks. takoyaki Lucas, Korean fried chicken, kebabs, grilled squid. Soon, both their hands were full. Olivia Sullivan, holding a skewer in her left hand and a lamb skewer in her right, asked puzzledly, "Weren't you full from dinner?" Michael Thompson, holding a large bag and waiting by the smoothie shop entrance for the clerk to bring out their order, replied, "These aren't for me. I can't possibly eat all this." Olivia Sullivan stared at the huge bag in Michael Thompson's hands, feeling a little overwhelmed. Was this Michael's way of taking care of someone? Fattening up his girlfriend like a piglet? Michael Thompson said, "If you can't finish it, just share it with your roommates." Olivia Sullivan finally understood. He remembered her complaints from earlier that afternoon and was now trying to help her improve her relationship with her roommates. It was a small gesture, but incredibly heartwarming. "Here are your smoothies." "Thank you." Once the smoothie shop employee handed over the bag drinks, Michael Thompson took them and said to Olivia Sullivan beside him, "Come on, I'll walk you back to your dorm." Michael Thompson walked Olivia Sullivan to the entrance of her Harvard University dormitory building. Only then did he hand over the bags of food and drinks. He watched her go upstairs before leaving, reassured. When Olivia Sullivan lugged the huge bag of food back into room 403, the other girls stared wide-eyed. She struggled to place the bag on the windowsill near the balcony, then said shyly to her roommates, I bought some snacks. Thought we could share." "Oh, and there are smoothies too." Olivia Sullivan handed out the smoothies. Laura Carter accepted one hesitantly, murmuring a thanks. Su Ling, a straightforward girl from Sichuan, ignored the fact she just brushed her teeth, climbed down from her top bunk, and eagerly started opening the takeout bag. "Let's see what we got here. Whoa, there's so much. Did you clean out every diner in the school plaza?" Hu Wei, perhaps too proud or embarrassed, had been playing on her phone down below, but now pretended she was going to bed. "I'm not eating. I'm on a diet." Su Ling made a face in Hu Wei's direction, then stuck her tongue out at Olivia Sullivan and whispered, "Don't mind her." Olivia Sullivan could only offer an awkward smile. In the end, it was Laura Carter, the most socially adept, highest EQ of the group, who gave Hu Wei an out. She smiled and said, Wei, make an exception just for today. It's not often Olivia brings back so much food. Let's just call it our dorm's first get-together." Taking the opening Laura Carter offered, Hu Wei climbed down from her bed, saying somewhat stiffly, "Well, in that case, I guess I can make an exception today. Normally, I never eat anything after 8. She came down from her bed, and Laura Carter spread out a thin mat she owned directly on the floor. The four girls sat down for their impromptu dorm room feast. Su Ling, munching on a meat skewer, remarked wistfully, "Too bad we don't have any bourbon." Laura Carter jokingly scolded her, "You should be grateful we have food at all. Don't be picky. You can buy next time." "Deal. I'll bring the drinks. You guys bring the meat skewers." Olivia Sullivan also sat on the mat, sipping her smoothie and smiling as she watched them chat. She was usually quite restrained about eating, mainly because she hated the feeling of being overly full. So, despite the pile of delicious food in front of her, she just sipped her smoothie and watched. But her spectating was immediately noticed by the sharp-eyed Hu Wei, who exclaimed, "Aha! You deliberately bought all this yummy food for us, but aren't eating any yourself. Are you trying to make us all fat so we can't find boyfriends, leaving you as the only one in the dorm showing off your romance?" Su Ling joined in the teasing. "She's so devious. Laura, help me hold her down. I'm going to feed this big meat skewer into her mouth." Olivia Sullivan looked utterly innocent. As her roommates playfully lunged towards her, she quickly grabbed a meat skewer herself, pleading pitifully, I'll eat too, okay?" The room instantly filled with cheerful laughter. The next morning, Michael Thompson was woken by his preset alarm clock. "Whoa," he yawned, rubbing his eyes, then groggily flopped back onto the bed, burying his face in the covers with his butt in the air, unwilling to accept the reality of getting up for school. A moment later, he felt a small hand gently patting his cheek a few times.